Hello and welcome for the final time to the SuperShow podcast. We had to go live because Chris and Jamie were absolutely losing their goddamn minds and the amount of stuff that they were rattling on. Also, I don't know if anyone saw, but I accidentally put us live very briefly before we were ready, before we'd finished prepping our guest for the final episode. Some people out there...
Don't do that.
No,
You're talking to the former host of this podcast, good sir. How dare you?
He's a special guest on our final episode because, of course, he is the third part of the Super Show. It is Chris. And for those who aren't actually watching, who are listening to this later on podcasting platforms, he is back. Say hello, Chris. There you go.
Yeah, fashionably on time, ready for another 365. Trip around the planet with the Super Show, right? That's what it's all about. It's my grand return. That's why we're here, right?
Plot twist. Yeah. We're actually not leaving. Chris, no, I'm joking. That's not.
It would be funny if you came back on and it was just, you assumed it was just a generic invite and you hadn't actually listened to any of the last 5 or 6 episodes of the podcast. You're like, so what does the future hold for the Super Show? What are you guys taking this thing in the future? Well,
yeah. How big are you going to make 2025? Like, tell me, what are the plans?
Well, what
are you going to do for the patrons?
How does let's do a spoiler cast of a Netflix film that Jonesy and his wife watched over the week. Jennifer Lopez has any films debuting in 2025. Guaranteed spoiler cast coming at you live.
I would love that.
Good.
I've started. We'd started watching something the other day that I could we could finish and do a spoiler cast on. So there you go.
Dear,
it's a brave new world.
I prefer the killing CEOs bit. Can we go back to that?
that is at the end when we can't get booted off the platform. Or we can, but it doesn't matter because we've finished. Before we get to that, we want to take the next sort of, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours, saying goodbye, bidding a fond farewell to all of the awesome people. This is why we're doing this. It's not for us. We could sit here and we could not go live and we could just talk to each other and have a laugh and say things that would definitely get Jamie cancelled. But instead of doing that, we wanted to go live
Reddit,
and talk to our it seems wrong to call them fans, but people that have been with us for a long time, for a little bit of time, through thick and thin, through all sorts. This is why we wanted to do this, and this is why I wanted Chris here as well.
Like you're going to break out into song in a second, yeah?
I can't sing for shit, so don't worry, I'm not going to.
Give us a bit of a wicked Defying Gravity open.
I don't know any.
I know you got it in you.
I don't know any of that film. I've not seen it. It's not really my cup of tea, really. Like I've not even seen the play. They did a stage production, didn't they? I know people that have seen that.
I've seen the stage production. It's all right, Jamie. But you got it in you. Come on, let's hear your.
Are we actually doing that? Am I?
If you want, mate, go for it.
Mate, no, hold on. Can I just say, before you start? Can I just say something? All right, this is for the fans, okay? Not the PlayStation fans, like for the fans. Okay,
I cover my camera when I do it. So I don't.
Is it actually going to do? Yeah, do it. Cover your camera. God.
And do I have to do it at the same octave that they do it? Or
no,
can I do
do your own. No, I want to hear you do it. I don't.
No. It's got to be that. It's got to be that octave.
You can try and do it like Ariana Grande.
Oh, that's not a bad. That's the hottest you've ever been to me, Jonesy. I've got a half chub over here. Sure. Ready? How was that?
Oh, do you know what? I thought that you were going to put your phone out and you were going to play a part of it or something.
Oh no, that's cheating. I got put on the spot, and me and Cynthia Erivo just
hold on. Did you really do
it? Because I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear
anything.
No, I didn't hear anything.
Oh, I wonder if there's a weird. So you guys just sat there in silence.
This is the bit.
I swear on my life. I think there's a Discord feature where
travesty. No bullshit. You've got your.
I swear on my life, I did it.
Nah, you've got your noise cancellation on, and it's fucked it up. You got to do it again.
Do I have to turn my noise cancellation off?
Yes, mate.
I was wondering why your guys' reaction was kind of understated. I was like, did I?
He didn't do it. Come on, man.
On my mum's life, I did it. And then I looked back at you two, and you were both just kind of sat there solemnly, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Here's the question: really how bad is it that Discord cut it out because it thought it was background noise?
Yeah. I mean, that's, in a nutshell, I think that's what it is, right?
Maybe it was cat death or cat death adjacent. I must admit. I'm willing to give it another go, but I just can't guarantee that Discord won't fuck me over again. And then
All right,
it will
well,
look even
look,
weirder because, yeah.
Yeah, but if it does fuck you over, then at least no one heard it, so it's fine. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean?
Ready? Okay.
Let's give it a shot. Yeah,
Noise
Suppression
cancellation
powered
off.
by Crisp is going away.
let's do it.
How much of that did you get?
None. A squeak.
Seriously,
A tiny
none of it.
squeak.
None of it. I've done it fully. I've got neighbours. I don't live in the
You
countryside
didn't even
like
cover
you
your
do.
camera that time, so that was even better because just saw you just kind
Oh,
of
no.
gulping stuff down.
And you know
Oh,
what?
it's
Because
so
I
good.
was taught, in like proper musician fare, to open my mouth really wide when you're singing high
Yep.
notes like that. Now someone could screenshot me with my mouth wide open and do a tribute like I'm sucking their cock.
Oh God, I hope
Not
no one
tributes
does
again.
that.
Oh no!
back
I
to
definitely hope no
tributes.
one creates an entire subreddit devoted to doing tributes of me with my mouth wide open.
Oh.
I hope no one comes on their tablet with my face on it.
Jamie appearing next on r/cum guzzlers.
I mean, look. Have you guys ever? Had the
How
thought
was
that you
Chris
would-
only
you-
here for like
you
15
would
minutes
ne-
before we descended into this?
Mate,
I
I
was-
told you,
I-
I'm the dick man. If anyone's been watching the show
believe
throughout the
you.
years, they know I'm the dick man.
Jonesy seems like one of those guys that would never suck a dick but believes he'd be good at it. Do you know what I mean?
I'd be terrible. I never would, and I'd be terrible. I wouldn't indeed. I would be
reckon you
non-enthusiastic.
Wow.
I don't believe you.
What's the joke I was
I missed this,
I was see
guys.
online?
I missed
The,
this.
the joke
Sorry.
about if there was 100 dicks on a wall, how many would you choke on?
What?
What? I don't understand.
You're in a room, so we'll go Chris first. So Chris, you're in a room. There are 100 dicks on the wall. How many are you choking on?
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Just
Why
answer the
am I
question.
sucking on
How
dicks?
many?
Why am I? Like, is there a gun to my head or
No,
like,
no. You're just in a.
I just walk into a room full of dicks. And I'm just like, yeah, I'll suck that.
No. You can say you could. It's up to you. There's 100 there. How many are you going to choke on?
None.
There you go,
Don't-
Jamie.
don't
Jamie, what do you reckon?
Is anyone watching?
No.
Are these dicks that are coming through glory holes? Or are they just like art
Yeah.
fixtures?
Let's say they're all glory hole dicks.
And I'm not being watched or filmed or recorded in any way.
No.
Probably none.
None.
But it's a great. If you ever wanted to know what one tastes like, it sounds like a great opportunity. For
Well, you're both pros because you're not choking on any of them. You're just going to take them all really easily. So there you go. Well done.
There you go. Okay, yeah.
That's the joke.
Congratulations.
That's the joke.
That's
That's the joke. Is that we can all deep throat cocks without gagging.
fucking hell. I wonder why this podcast's ending, fellas. This fucking.
Wow,
Ouch! How very dare you? I just want to answer Raina Winters quickly. Raina said, "How do you join the Discord?" It is through the Patreon. I have turned all of the Patreon levels down to like 50p or 50 cents or whatever. I think that's the minimum. No, maybe 10 actually. Maybe 10p. I can't remember the minimum. Whatever it would allow me to do.
Jonesy, I reckon you can.
Or was it a quid? I can't remember.
I reckon you can just change it to free. Like,
No,
honestly.
you can turn it to free, but some of the people, some of our patrons suggested that if you go free on the Discord, then people would be able to join and you'll get loads of bots in there or something. And said it's a big problem. So I was like, I'll do the minimum. It might have been $1 actually, but I can.
Do they know? Like, do the bots know where to go?
I don't know. I've got no idea.
I can't see us ever having a big bot problem.
If I can do it I'll try and do it for free, or maybe I'll do a free one to give Discord access. If that's
I wonder if we also maybe just have a policy where if anyone just reaches out to any of us individually, like over DMs or anything like that, and just asks,
I could just
give them the link.
I could just put the Discord link in the description for this video because there's probably only going to be like 200 people watch this video, so that would probably be fine.
So,
I'll do that.
whatever works, James.
There you go.
You'll figure it out.
Raina, after this podcast is finished, I will put the Discord link in the description. So anyone who would like to jump in can.
I think also we've got to be just on it with the moderation.
We don't moderate anything.
Someone will step up. But then again,
if you open it up, you got to have moderation. I think the reason why we got away with no moderation is because, I mean, we didn't vet the people that came in. It's kind of if you put money into the Patreon, you got access. But then that was kind of like a soft gate.
yeah, I guess so. But then, by the same token, a lot of people say that X isn't the platform that Twitter once was, and they attribute that downfall to bots. But I quite like the kind of the sort of the loop, the cycle of clicking on a tweet, because I'm interested in the topic or I want to see what someone has to say or something like that, and then scrolling down and only seeing tits and fanny. It's actually a really rewarding loop because you go
that's
like,
fair. That's fair.
tweet tits and fanny, tweet tits. It's great. Before I used to get meaningful conversations and back and forths and arguments and debates, and now it's just link in bio.
So, I think it's. I wouldn't mind if it was that. For me though, it seems to be street fight, tits and fanny, dead guy, street fight, right wing Republican. Street fight, tits and fanny, and it's I'm not enjoying the loop. Is not doing it for me these days. I've got to be honest.
You just described the best corners of the internet, and you're telling me I can get them all in one place.
That is very. And to be fair, this probably the problem is I should not click on the tits and fanny that much, and then it wouldn't suggest it to me as often as it does. So it's I'm a victim of my own algorithm, I suppose. At this point, do you imagine meeting your own algorithm? They managed to turn it into like an AI. And you
imagine
can
meeting your own algorithm. Like if ever there was a Alex Jones fucking comment.
Well, you can make a GPT, like you can program it yourself and to have a certain personality. Imagine your algorithm had a personality and a voice and could talk to you. I think mine would be terrifying because all the stuff I think I don't click on.
See, you just made that too sci-fi for me. When you first said imagine meeting your algorithm, I imagine like my algorithm is a cartoon character like Mr. DNA from Jurassic Park where he comes up, I'm your algorithm. And then you turn it into some weird dystopian shit where like it's...
No, it could still be that. It can still have a little face and be a little DNA cartoon man if that's what you really want.
Yeah, I think that you make AI more widely accepted is just make it a friendly cartoon character.
Like Dino DNA.
I think Jamie's just realized what his algorithm would contain, and that's why he just got scared for a second.
Maybe. Sure, my algorithm wouldn't be that bad. Plus, I also click on a lot of links sent to me by other people, which then bastardizes my algorithm. I will say I have a TikTok account just to allow me to freely peruse TikTok without log in or do any funny business. And I get sent links to various TikTok videos, and I won't say who sends them. But let's say if you open up my TikTok right now, there's a 9 out of 10 chance that the first video will be a fight of some kind. And then there's a further 7 out of 10 chance that one, if not both of the participants in that fight will be either a midget or extremely disabled.
What? Wow, okay.
That's my niche.
That's your niche.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Sure.
Have you ever watched a midget like punch another midget in the head?
No.
Well, they've got massive heads and very small hands, so everything just bounces.
No, you're confusing me now because there's
dwarfs.
That's
dwarf fighting and midget fighting.
It remind me of one of my favorite Christmas movies, though, Bad Santa.
Oh, very good.
Because the vertically challenged person in that goes in a boxing match and he gets knocked the fuck out, and the way he falls down is just hilarious.
Didn't Eddie Hall recently fight in an MMA fight 2 midgets at the same time or something?
Wasn't it 2 women?
No. He was supposed. I think he was supposed to do one thing, and then they couldn't, for whatever reason, they couldn't do it. So they just got these 2. I think the two guys who were like under 5 foot, and he had to fight both of them at the same time. Some weirdness like that. I tell you what, before we go on any more about this though, I'm going to set up. So Chris had a good idea for the final pod because we couldn't decide what to do it on. We couldn't decide the angle we were going to go with. It seems a bit weird to like cover news and to sort of do traditional sort of thing because there is not going to be any more episodes after this. So what we are going to do is randomly, probably given how this is already going, throw out games, eat all of us, and we're going to try and whittle down good games or iconic games to us into a list of like 6 of our most iconic / favorite video games of all time. And we'll see how it goes. We might not get there. There you go.
Final 6 list. Yeah.
One final 6
to
list.
represent.
It's like this feels like Paul Walker resurrected. Just fucking one final ride, fellas.
See, Discord likes that. That's fine. That's fine.
That was fine.
But Wicked, no. Well, I get it.
Someone was showing pictures I saw on X yesterday, and it was like Ariana Grande in Wicked, or after Wicked and before, and how different she looks. And I will say it is quite stark. Like,
all right, so she's on Ozempic, and she never had an ounce of body fat in her life. So
lost a little
she's
bit
a
of weight
skeleton now.
Yeah, someone who didn't have weight to lose, lost weight, and then got photographed at an unflattering angle. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I think I would
same.
agree. I would agree. It's like you would say like if you look that good first, why would you? Because I assume the same thing. I assumed it was the Ozempic. Like, why the hell would you be on it? Maybe she's not. Maybe that's complete rubbish, and she's just. I think she said she's a vegan now, so that probably explains a decent amount of it.
Do you know what? I actually saw one of the best Ozempic before and afters I've ever seen of all time today. Have either of you two seen either in it itself or as a screenshot afterwards Cillian Murphy in the 28 Years Later trailer? Honestly.
Yeah, nice.
Fantastic.
I was waiting for the punchline.
Yeah.
Did you guys? Hey, it's topical. That's today.
It is.
Did you guys ever see that movie, The Machinist, with Christian Bale?
Yes.
Oh, I haven't seen it, but yeah.
Mate,
Yes.
so that he did that film after he did Batman Begins. So Batman Begins, he fucking bulked up quite a lot, right? And then he did The Machinist, where he is actually like, to be fair,
it was vice
looks like a
versa.
Holocaust victim.
It was the other way around. He did The Machinist, and then he had to gain all the weight back to be in Batman, and so he ended up. I want to say,
Was it that? I'm gonna fact check you live. Yeah.
Do it. Because I think he went from like 100 pounds or something in The Machinist. He had to gain back to 200 pounds. I think he did for Batman.
100 pounds.
It was insane. I think he said the way he got down to weight was the diet he was on was an apple and a cigarette a day was how he made weight for The Machinist.
Yeah.
But
No, you're right. Yeah. So Machinist was 2004. Batman Begins was 2005.
yeah,
That's mad.
it was crazy. Absolutely crazy.
You know how you realize one of the ways in which you can realize you have a problem with your weight is when you could lose a Christian Bale and still be fat. That's
Hold on.
That's deep waters.
Christian Bale in The Machinist or Christian Bale in Batman? Because
that is the difference, right?
No, because he's quite beefy in Batman.
Is. He's north of 200 pounds in Batman, I think.
Yeah. Although I had a weird moment the other day where, and sorry to sidetrack the conversation yet again, but I ended up watching some clips from The Dark Knight Rises, and in my head, going into rewatching those clips, and this is a film I haven't seen since more or less the time it came out, I was like, oh yeah, Tom Hardy got jacked for that film. Like, he put on loads of muscle. And he did, but you go back and watch The Dark Knight Rises, and you don't look at Tom Hardy and go, oh my God, he is fucking yoked. Like, he looks like a brick shithouse. You're just like, that's quite a muscly guy.
He's also like 5. I think he's like 5'6", 5'5". So
Maybe
I think
that's what it is.
I think his
No,
height.
he's not that.
I
He
think
must
he
be
is.
5'7", I reckon.
There's something
I'm
about
5'6".
I don't know what his height actually is, but all I'm saying is there's something about like his stature and his physique in that film that's nowhere near as imposing as I thought it was 12 years ago.
I think that because if you're shorter, getting jacked, you look more jacked than you are because you don't need as much muscle apparently to like fill you up, which is why Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, Tom Hardy's 5'9".
That's average height.
I've heard that ain't true.
And
Jonesy sources have told him that Tom Hardy might be over exaggerating.
Well, like who's it? So I told you this before.
And Christian Bale's 6 foot.
I got a bit obsessed with like celeb heights and people saying about how low they all lie about how tall they are. And there's people that go into like red carpet things and they'll measure, like they'll be holding a cup and they'll take the cup and they'll be like, we know this cup is 4 inches. And so they'll like stack the cup and go, he can only be a maximum of 4'5" and he's wearing lifts. So like Sylvester Stallone is apparently like 5'5". Or someone said he was in. I've told this before on the podcast. He was getting out of a swimming pool, and there was a guy who was obsessed with celebrity heights. And someone said, "Oh, Stallone's out the back in the pool." So he sprinted through the hotel to get to the pool to see him get out of the pool to stand next to him and say hello because he was 5'7", and he's like, "I was at least an inch and a half taller than Stallone, and I'm 5'7". So weirdly obsessed, but I do kind of get it. It is a fun game. But
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, incredibly fun. Maybe one of the top 6 funnest games of all time.
Okay, here you go. First game. Let's start off. I want someone to give me a game.
Celebrity height.
No, I want a game that you would put in the category, in the playing, for being in the top 6 of all time.
To kick us off, I mean, I can see there's a comment here from good old Brimstone. So shout out Brimstone, saying, okay, so Chris's games are Mario Galaxy 2 and Dota 2.
I mean...
Yeah.
You don't want to start the show with a showstopper, but
and Diablo 2, and then we're all done. We're set.
Well, you know what the thing is? Like, I think I do genuinely think Super Mario Galaxy 2 is up there because that is quite clearly the tippity top of the mountain when it comes to Mario games. Dota 2, as much as I love it, and as much as like it's the game I've definitely sunk the most hours into, I don't think it's fair to put it into that. Like I don't think games as a service can be put into this kind of a 6 list. I don't think that's fair.
Okay.
You hear that, Jonesy? Marvel's Avengers has to be struck from the record as well now.
God damn it!
But I will make an exception for Concord. I hear that's banging.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
You are off the boil. I have to take a quick pause because we have an extremely generous super chat come in from. I'm not going to say it yet. Oh, no, you'll find out why. 500 not coming in on the super chat.
Oh, there we go.
But this is I'm not gonna go first at this because I feel like I always get stitched up. Comment is, fuck it, one last time, Merry Christmas. I want to hear all three of you guys try to say my name one last time. It's great to see the midget back in action. Also, thanks for the great times. All of you, gonna miss you guys.
I'm taller than Sylvester Stallone. Okay.
So, and you know who this person is.
Throw it out there. If we could get you and Sylvester Stallone together for a boxing match, I think we could do some real numbers on TikTok. That's what I'm saying.
Ooh, hell yeah.
Time. You know what? If it's anything to go by with like what TikTok and celebrity fights go for, I'll take that purse. I'll get knocked the fuck out. I'll lose my teeth. I don't give a shit. Just give me that cash. Hell yeah.
Do I need to remind you how the spelling of this person's name? Do you know? Can you see who it is in chat?
No,
I can see it. I can see it.
I kind of feel like he once told Jamie how to pronounce it.
But Jamie goes there, that part of the world as well. He's got his best friend forever is from that part of the world, so he probably knows it better.
Best friends.
I mean, he is my best friend. Shout out Frederick. But I feel like,
do you have a podcast with him?
He doesn't have one with us either.
Exactly. From this day forward, I have no podcast. So when I'm in like weird chats or conversations where like colleagues go, oh yeah, like it'd be really weird. Like everyone's got a podcast nowadays. I'm glad none of you guys have podcasts. Like only weirdos have their own little podcast, and I just sit there quietly pretending I don't have one. I no longer have to pretend.
You don't.
Nice.
So I think with this, Chris is going to have to go first because he is the resurrected member. Then I will go because Jamie probably does know how to say it, and I don't want to give us an over advantage.
That's fair. Okay, so in the past, right, I've said Magni.
Right.
But he's told us that that's not right. So I'm going to go Magni.
Magni, okay. And what about the surname?
There's no fucking surname here, mate.
Do you want me to post it to you?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'll put it in the Discord.
Yeah, careful. As Jonesy breaks the stream. Just prepare yourselves, everyone.
Yeah, I thought you couldn't do that.
No, I can type it into our chat with all of us, but I can't go in my DMs. Use it.
I see.
That's Mikkelsen. Mikkelsen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have watched Ragnarok multiple times, that TV show. And one of the characters I think is called the same as this. And I've tried it before, and I'm pretty sure I said it wrong. But I'm going to try anyway. I think it's Mogne. And the surname, I think, is Mikkelsen.
Okay.
So I'm going.
Wow.
I was going to say that makes my life tough because that is really similar to what I was going to do.
Ooh, okay.
And I haven't watched Ragnarok ever, but I did for some reason a week ago watch David Fincher's remake of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which of course retains all the, in that case, Swedish names, so only half helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
Like Mikael Blomkvist and Lisbeth Salander. So, and sometimes I just like to say those names out loud to get me in a somewhat Scandinavian, get my tongue moving.
Such a great accent. I love those accents.
It is good. So yeah, mine would be something like Magne Mikkelsen. Something.
Okay.
I don't know if it.
Yeah,
it's something in that.
If I had to put money on it, I think Jamie's got it.
All right. Well, there you go. There's our 3 attempts.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Put 500 knock on it. That's what it would be.
Who is closest?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, who's the winner? Let us know. Magni.
Yeah, just Magni for now.
Just Magni. But should we get back to the task at hand, fellas? So, what do you? I'm not adding it to the list yet. All right. I think let's have that discussion, and then maybe towards the end we kind of populate that list.
Of
But
Mario Galaxy
I know,
2.
Yeah, I know Jonesy doesn't give a shit about Mario games, but Jamie, you've got some love for Mario Galaxy.
I absolutely have some love for Mario Galaxy. Like there are strong arguments that can be made for any of Super Mario Galaxy, Super Mario Galaxy 2, and Super Mario 64 to be on like an all-timers list, in my opinion. Like Jonesy might still have some of his grievances with Nintendo titles, and some of them, I will, in his defense, have softened over the years from when he said that they were all cutesy little fartsy mobile games.
I didn't say farts. Oh, what a cute! I didn't want. I can't remember what he said. What? I'll remember it.
You definitely suggested that basically every Nintendo title ever might as well have been a mobile game.
I did. I know. There was a phrase I used multiple times, and I probably should apologise. But I'm kind of with you. But sorry, I have the winner for the naming. Chris, you were there. You were top.
Wow.
Magni said all of your attempts were 3 to 4 out of 10 at best. So none, not impressed with any of us.
All that accent work for nothing.
There we go.
Cheap, if anything.
I think the weird thing for me though with Mario Galaxy 2 is like I never played it as a kid.
Well, did you ever play it at all?
I played a bit of it briefly, like as an adult, but not enough to really get my teeth into it. But then, do you know what? I will say, like, Odyssey, I thought was fantastic. Like Odyssey, I think was
Odyssey was very good,
phenomenal. I love the crossover
Odyssey
stuff.
Odyssey is up there. I'd say it's like Odyssey, Galaxy 2.
Okay, interesting. Maybe I should bite the bullet and just like play some and try and get a bit of love for it because my kids love Mario. This absolutely kills me. Do you know what my kids call them?
Mario.
Yeah, just like Chris, they call them Mario. They're so Americanized.
Mario. Yeah,
it's horrendous.
Mario just sounds like you're from New York. Hey, Mario, get your ass over here, Mario. Give me a slice.
I'll tell you what you can do though, Jonesy.
Mario.
It's like Chris Pratt's pronunciation in the movie.
You get the Super Mario All Stars collection on Switch. That's got Super Mario Galaxy 1 on it.
Okay, there you go.
As well as 64 and Sunshine.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good collection for sure.
I'm well up for that. I'm definitely up for some Mario.
You gonna stream it?
I don't really stream. I tell you, I don't know if you heard from last week. One thing I thought I might do, I might get my actual PlayStation 1 out and stream from that.
I think that's a cool idea, man.
I thought it might be fun.
It's a cool idea.
Do you remember when we were at ATG, we were thinking what we could do for like ATG plays, like our live streams, and one of the things I said is let's get a PS2 and stream Return of the King.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah.
That'd be a fun.
That was sick. Yeah, that was good, man. That was very good.
That'd be good, man. That'd be so good.
Am I adding this? Hold on. Am I adding this as a potential Super Mario Galaxy 2? I think I should
put it down as a maybe for me.
Okay, a maybe.
I got some others in the bank, but
yeah, I've got some in the bank as well. But the problem is we're finding 6 between us, and I've already written down 10 games.
Do you know
I can match you there quite easily, but
so. My problem is.
So what are we saying? Like 2 each, right? Like that's how we usually.
No, I don't think so. I think it's just an agreed upon list of 6. Like if any
consensus.
I think so. If anything I suggest, you guys are like, if we all agree they don't make the list, then I'm perfectly happy to yeet them off.
Yeah,
the list.
but hold on, because that's difficult, right? Because then, like, what if I've played, like, let's say objectively and subjectively the best game in the world, and you guys haven't played it yet?
I think if you make a strong enough argument, there's something that only one of us has played or one of us likes.
Right, fellas, let me tell you about No One Lives Forever 2.
I mean, if you think it's on the list, then I would listen.
Nah, it's a great game, but it's not on the list.
R.I.P.
All right, go on. Who's got the next?
See, one of my problems is games that I really like. I guarantee they're not going to be in the best games of all time, sort of thing. They might be iconic for me, but they're not. So most of the ones I want to go to, I'm like, do you know what I would put on there? I would Last of Us 2. If I'm thinking of like games that I love that I think were fantastic and that blew me away in loads of different ways,
You know what?
I would put Last of Us 2 on there.
I think it says a lot that in the 10 games I wrote down, I had not gotten to the point yet where I'd written down either Last of Us game, and you just put forward the worst or the inferior one, in my opinion.
That's fair.
That's the problem I've got with that.
I will say it's the only game I've ever done a 3-hour plus spoiler cast on. So
On the hottest day of the year.
fuck.
Why do you think
it's a good game, and I think it deserves to be on, top best games lists. But I don't know if it's but between us three here and now, looking at your eyes in the moonlight, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm just.
Why do you not think it's as good as
all the way there
one? That's what I would want to know.
I think one's story stuck with me more, and not because it's necessarily any more memorable, and certainly not because it's any more like active in the sense that like there's far more stuff that happens in The Last of Us Part 2. Last of Us 2 has got far more characters, far more drama, far more stakes and consequences, and so on and so forth. But I think perhaps it loses some of its edge as a result of that. Like the other thing I just find about 2, and as someone who played 2 incredibly recently as a result of maybe perhaps buying a console that maybe made that experience marginally better. And you guys have to tell me whether you think this is an actual knock or not. The Last of Us Part 2 is an incredibly hard game to replay because it is so fucking stressful.
Oh, yeah.
Every single time you turn a corner, you're like, oh no, it's this bit. Like it's another intense. If you're not playing an intense stealth action sequence, you're watching an intense stealth action sequence.
Right.
And if you're watching it, that will probably end in the death of someone you like. It's just like I sat there with the controller in my hand, going, "Man, this is a fucking incredible video game," and like, I don't want to experience any of it again.
Yeah. The reason I would suggest 2 over 1 is 1 was fantastic and was the story was brilliant and the characters being introduced was great and all of that. But I found that 2 was much more story-wise. Maybe the story wasn't as good, but I found it much more impactful, and the way they presented it, I thought was like blew me away. And then it was all the little quality of life improvements over 1. And they're just the little bits that like not even quality of life, but more like
better gameplay.
Yeah, better gameplay, like smoothed out things, a few extra little elements that really. We often talk about games where there's things that you say, oh, if this game really is the one, like if it is that game, then I'll be able to do this. So for example, like the Stanley parable, where you open the door in the cupboard and you go stand in the corner, and the narrator goes like, Stanley stood in the corner, and you're like, oh, they didn't do that. Right, how? But and there's a bit in that really blew me away of Last of Us 2 was, I think there's a part where they introduced like a mechanic which is supposed to imitate like vertigo. So if you go near to an edge and look over the edge, the way the camera draws back, and it's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. And I was just like, they have
especially when you're going across the skyscrapers, right?
Yeah.
Like
they thought so much
crane
stuff.
you're walking across from one skyscraper to another.
I'll
little bits, little things like that.
Yeah, I'll give it this. Like one of the things that I talk about with the people that I work with is about creating moments in time that kind of stick in people's heads. And I think both Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 have very definitive standout moments. I think the issue that I have with Last of Us Part 2 is it's so long that the connective tissue between those moments, you kind of get lost in the weeds a bit. Like, funny enough, I was thinking about that game the other day, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, I remember, like, I can't even remember the names now, but the 2 seraphim people that you save.
Lev and Yara.
Right. Lev and Yara, right? Like there was a whole section where you fall into like a fucking log cabin or something, and then there's like a big shambler that comes after you, and like I'd completely forgotten about that. But then, but you know what I mean? And like, that could have been a big moment. And then there was like, oh, you go and raid the fucking village and all the huts are on fire and shit. It's like, that's a standout moment, but I actually completely forgot about it. It didn't stay with me. But then other bits like the whole fucking Santa Monica thing, or the skyscraper where you're going down in the building and you have to have the mask on, that, like, that shit fucking sticks with me. Yeah. But I think there's equally amount of things that stick with you in Part 1, and Part 1 was just kind of like weird to say, and not fully meaning this, but like a tighter kind of.
Yeah, I'll give you.
It
two
is,
was
yeah.
a bit long. Like 2 was too long, and I think that little addition as well, at the end where the story just seems to like. I don't know. It feels a little odd the way they tack on Santa Monica and then you do the whole.
I don't know, man.
final
Like
bit.
I'll be honest, and I know I'm in a vast minority here, but I think the Santa Barbara stuff is
Santa Barbara.
some of the most memorable for me.
Like it was very memorable, but to me it felt like a little bit of an addition. Like it felt like how do we get from here to here? I know how we do it. We do
yeah.
this, but maybe that's just me being unfair. I want to take a brief pause because we have another super chat coming, and this is from absolute legend. I can tell because the name. Peter Jones says with a PITA, Peter, not like Peter, says with a $5 super chat saying, "You were the guys that got me into YouTube. Chris, Alex, Jamie, I love you, and
Yes,
we'll miss
mate.
your faces. We will miss you too, Peter Jones. But thank
Well, we
you so
don't
much.
know what your face looks like, but we'll miss the essence of you.
Yeah, I think of you whenever I eat pitta.
There you go.
I'll
There you
say
go.
differently. That reminds me.
I hate the way you guys say
Go on then, Mr. Greek God.
pita.
Give us
Pita.
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 Do you guys remember in the Sacha Baron Cohen film Bruno, where he's sitting down? It's quite topical in a weird way. He's sitting down with a representative of like Israel and a representative of Palestine, trying to broker peace. As there's gay Austrian fashion industry insider,
Yeah.
and he mistakes intentionally Hamas for hummus, and he's saying to representatives of Palestine, Israel, "Isn't pita bread the real enemy?" And then the guy goes, "You have mistaken Hamas for hummus."
Imagine they both came together over a consensus that he was a moron. So they were like,
I mean,
we agree on this.
Yeah, fair.
We do have another
Hey,
super chat.
Sorry, just quickly. It's also possible, man. I've seen You Don't Mess with the Zohan. Those guys can make peace if they really wanted to. They just need to get Adam Sandler on board.
I've not
turns out
seen it. Is that the
Sandman
hairdressing
is
one?
the answer. Yeah, it's the hairdressing one.
Ah,
It's the one where he's like a Israeli secret agent turned hairdresser.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Do I need to see it, or do I not need to see it?
Nah, I mean it's one of the better later Adam Sandler films, but you don't need to see it.
I don't know if I'd even say that much.
Oh, okay. There's a hot take.
Just watch Uncut Gems and pretend he's never done comedy. That's my advice.
Yeah,
And
fair.
Punch Drunk Love.
Okay.
Oh, although Happy Madison and
The Waterboy.
Happy Gilmore, The Waterboy, like there was a
Billy
stretch.
Madison. Are you guys looking
Billy
forward
Madison.
to Happy Gilmore coming back?
Uh,
They're like filming a sequel at the moment, I think.
Nah, yeah, you know what? If Zoolander 2 taught me anything, is just fucking leave those iconic movies alone, man.
yeah.
Zoolander is a good point. Yeah.
That's a good shout.
Sorry, Jonesy.
No, so this also comes in. This is 100 not coming from Mugny, which I now know I can't say his name, so I'm whatever. Said, even though no one can ever replace you guys, where would you send us for your new fix of gaming news? Where do you guys go for your gaming
great
news
question.
and top class entertainment? So I'm going to keep it super simple. I like the news weekly thing from. Oh my god, I've completely forgotten his name.
Skill Up.
Skill Up. Thank you, Skill Up.
I knew it. I fucking knew it. You're such a Skill Up cuck.
I am, aren't I?
You are a bit of one.
I am.
But it's okay. Because if you ever had to be a cuck, I guess, for games, Skill Up would be the one.
So I'm a bit of a basic bitch. What about you guys?
So I see. I'm more of a podcaster than a YouTuber now. I
Yeah.
find most gaming YouTubers annoy me to some degree, and so I kind of don't watch any of them. And a lot of the YouTube content I do watch is either offshoots of the podcast stuff I listen to, or it's basically former mainstream, like in gaming terms, mainstream media, or people who worked for media outlets who went solo or spun out onto their own thing. And a lot of them are tough for me to recommend because, and I think Chris can relate to this because there were times where like we would talk about stuff like back in the ATG days where I'd say I listened to this podcast, and it's tough to onboard other people onto because you like it because you know the personalities and they're kind of grandfathered in, but someone else listens for the first time and it's like, it's just 3 50-year-old white dudes who have, outdated and jaded opinions on video games. Why am I listening to this? And that is kind of the case with, like, I was always a very big Giant Bomb fan, and that's now splintered to the point where Jeff Gersman has his own show. There are 3 of them who do one called the Nextlander podcast, One of them teams up with a Twitch someone who worked at GameSpot on Twitch and someone who worked at Polygon and GameSpot for a show called the Fire Escape podcast. Do you know what? One of
I don't
my
like any of them,
podcasts-
man.
That's the thing, and I can't. They're not easy to recommend because if you go in, one that I will say is growing on me because I like the way they operate, and they are again sort of the person who kind of runs the whole show used to work at Game Informer. I think got laid off, and they started out, and it's that's MinMax, MinMax with two N's because they're based in Minnesota, and I like it because I think that Ben Hansen, the guy who runs it and hosts most of their stuff, is a likable and positive sort of like personality in the gaming space, but also because they have this kind of thing where they have a roster almost of people from different backgrounds, like Jacob Geller, the YouTuber who I know,
shout out Jacob Geller.
You're a big fan of Chris.
Big fan.
Like he's one of like their like fairly often like rotating kind of guests, and they have people from other websites and from the game dev side and all kinds of different, and it means you just get a range of voices, but often contained within this nicely produced both weekly podcast and all kinds of other patron supported content. So yeah, shout out MinMax, I guess.
Yeah.
With
I'd say if it was podcast, probably MinMax. I don't know. It's a strange thing. I don't really, if I have to think about it, I don't know where I get my gaming news anymore. I just kind of, I think I've been so ingrained in gaming news on my social media algorithms that it's almost like I get the news by osmosis.
Right.
It's a weird thing, and it feels a bit kind of like, I don't know, like up my own arse to kind of say, but yeah, I don't know.
No, like that's I do get a lot of it like that as well. Like if you see something on X and then you hit a link and then you see something, you just kind of like you see a few different things like that. I often do that as well.
Yeah, I basically what I'm saying is I think for me, I built out my social algorithms to just feed me gaming news, so I can't pinpoint one specific place to get it.
Yeah. Plus, by the what we're really talking about with X is we're talking about a rumor that gets broken by Tom Henderson, followed by a report that confirms it by Jason Schreier, following that report getting aggregated and regurgitated by VGC, followed by a hype man Twitter profile page picking it up and sensationalizing it all over again.
Yeah,
basically.
I'll tell you what else helps is just refreshing the homepage on, again, if you've done your algorithm correctly, of just YouTube and just seeing titles of videos, and you'd be like, oh, I'll watch that, and then you watch it at 2x speed. That's the secret, 2x speed. Get the gist of it. Skip around.
I think I actually lied when I said most of my news comes from Skill Up. To be fair, the majority of my weekly gaming news comes from Jamie. So I think, and Chris, because often in our WhatsApp group, I'll be sitting there and there'll be some random article that will be like, "Did you guys see this?" That will probably be from Chris. And then weeklies when I chat to Jamie, and Jamie will go, "I'll be like, what was that story?" And Jamie will just give me the lowdown. So,
that's part of it too, though. Like if you have friends who are in the know, and between you and your friends, you will like the same shit and talk about it in like a WhatsApp group or a Discord server, then even the SuperShow Discord server, like there are guys in there who are really good at sharing a piece of news as it breaks or asking opinions on this, that, and other. If you keep tabs on those, then that's great as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I have another super chat. This is coming in from Rodrigo, $10. This is a little bit of a special nod to you, Chris. I hope you guys have a great holiday, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. Thanks for all the memories and laughs. I saw an Asa Akira poster on Amazon, and I thought of Chris. Buy that poster. Get it on your wall. That is the way to go with that.
Beautiful.
I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Maybe we should follow that, forward that $10 straight onto Chris so he can buy an Asa. I don't know what his wife will say about it, but
just straight into the spank bank, fellas.
I wonder if she does like safe for work posters that you could get two, like back them, so every time the wife comes home you flip it and it's like a perfectly fine one, and when she goes out you flip it and it's something filmed.
It's like James Bond's number plate. Press a button and it flips over.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
I like it. Yes,
for when you're at home alone and you're thinking, you know what that wall needs? A pair of tits.
Yeah, and then your wife comes in. You press the button. It's like, she goes, "Why is there a poster of E17 on your wall?" It's like, boy bands. I don't know.
No, it has to be Asa Akira doing something like safe. There has to be something like totally above board that would make sense for you to have, where she's like, like looking at us, like dressed as a scientist, like looking at something, and you flip it over and she's doing something outrageous.
I think I saw that one.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So so where are we at? Like Last of Us Part 2 is a no.
Last of Us Part 2 is a no.
Are we then saying Last of Us Part 1? How do you feel about Last of Us Part 1?
Unless you guys want to overrule me and keep Last of Us Part 2 shortlisted
I think
instead
Chris,
of Last of Us Part 1.
I think Chris agreed with you.
Chris gave some
I agree with
arguments. Okay, so should Last of Us shortlisted maybe?
I feel like for me, one of them should be at least. Like, I'm happy if it's number 1 over number 2.
I'll defer to you two guys because this is the nice thing about a triangle democracy. I would not include it personally.
It might get dropped.
I did come to it quite late, so you never know.
It might get dropped as we work down. We've shortlisted it. Okay.
It's better to know we have it in our back pocket rather than get down the line and realize we have 5 and then think, oh, hang on, what did we kind of like? What was close?
Exactly.
Jamie, I mean, you got to chime in now, right?
Before you do you want another super chat?
Oh, you know it.
This is Pastors Guild, the legend, $5.
Yes.
This is for you, JMO, saying, Jamie, are you still single? How are your relationships doing? How are your relationships doing after the podcast? I always found you guys hilarious. I'll never forget you 3. Gonna miss you guys. I think that is that a offer? No, I'm joking.
That's a question for all 3 of us, though, right? I mean, the first part's for me, and then the other part's for you 2.
Oh yeah, the first part is I think is just for you. Are you still single, Jamie?
I am. Big fat guy who plays games for days. Go figure.
How are your relationships doing after the podcast? I'm assuming you mean between the 3 of us. Like I'm soft hoping that we talk more after the podcast because we'll maybe stream some stuff, meet up. We've done pretty well recently with meeting up. Actually, we've met up more in the last month than we have in quite a long time.
I guess it's like I felt it when I left the podcast. I definitely know. Obviously, I spoke to you guys a lot less, but then luckily I get to see Jamie Jonesy at least once a week through work, so that helps. But yeah, the podcast was always kind of the easy fallback option, and I think maybe the reason that I kind of things quietened down between us when I left, not in a bad way. I don't want anyone to get like the wrong idea here, but I think it's because you two would catch up because we always used to catch up before the podcast.
Yes,
no matter what we did, and I think what would happen was you two would catch up on the podcast, and then in our group chat there wouldn't be as much to say, which is like a natural consequence. But yeah, I think you're right. I think maybe now that the podcast is ending, we almost have to revert back to that. And then it kind of puts the pressure on us to kind of keep it up rather than just having this thing that's always there that, naturally funnels you to keeping in touch.
Right. My long-term plan is still make a company where we all work together. That's my long-term goal. James assured me that if I pay him enough, he'll come work for me as well.
Oh, I said with to Jonesy the other day, because Jonesy, what did the business you joked about starting? Like a cake making company or something like that?
What? No, what was it? It wasn't a cake making company.
Maybe it wasn't cakes. Jonesy joked about starting up some kind of business but he plucked some idea out. I can't remember what it was. Yeah.
Like something that was really. It was the gorgeous sexy food thing, but like I commented about the gorgeous sexy food. I might have it on the chat. Hold on.
No, this was a separate conversation.
No, yeah, that wasn't that.
This was like basically Jonesy was trying to convince me it was a good idea that he should start a company and that we should come and work for him. And I did say, to be fair, that if he got to the point where he could put any honest and realistic offer letter under my nose, and I felt like he had enough money to pay for it, then I'd drop what I was doing and go and work for him. Absolutely. The difficulty is, when do any of us get to the point where we can afford to hire the other? And with each passing year, it gets harder and harder for obvious reasons.
That is true.
Yeah, the thing I'll say about sort of relationships and stuff like that is that I can be a bit of a nervous pervers when it comes to relationships and keeping them going. But I'm really not too worried about you two. And part of that is because I think that, like, not to sort of throw too much weight behind the old argument that this is a men thing. I think this is just a certain type of people thing. But like, you can go a long time without seeing someone or without talking to someone, and if you kind of have that backbone, the spine of that relationship, then it kind of like you can ease back into something like that straight away, like very quickly.
Oh yeah.
I was saying to Jonesy, no, was it you, Chris? I was saying to, I can't remember. I was saying to one of you the other day that we haven't seen Steph for 5 years because of bad coordination and planning. Steph hasn't made it out to like any of the meetings or the meals or anything like that we've done in basically since lockdown started. Steph Murphy, by the way, former ATG employee,
legend.
Yeah, but the last time I spoke to Steph was today. Like, and it wasn't even like a conversation. He just saw me go online on Steam playing Path of Exile 2 and messaged me saying, "Oh yeah, but how's that?" Because he's quite good at that stuff. And it's like, it's like OJ putting on the glove. It's easy. And the other reason I'm not too worried.
I thought the whole point was that
it wasn't. Yeah.
Oh,
if the glove doesn't fit, you must quit.
So
you fucked it. You completely fucked it.
No, you guys are like the opposite of OJ's gloves, then.
Okay.
Because we do fit. Although actually in reality, OJ's glove fit as well. I'm pretty sure.
I thought that was the famous picture of the glove fitting.
No, not
fit.
Really small.
He couldn't get it on.
He's wearing it in the picture.
Yeah, but it's not on. It's like half on.
He's trying to put it on. It's like on his fingers. Yeah, and the whole the kind of conspiracy behind it, or whatever it was, that his lawyer, was it Johnny Cochran, told him not to take his arthritis meds.
His surname was Cochran.
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 Johnny Cochran.
But yeah, said to not take his arthritis pills or medication, whatever it is, so that it was like his fingers were all stiff and they couldn't go in the glove. But who knows? Hearsay. But find out next week on Known Murderers.
Don't. We only ever. I can't believe we did one of them. That was so much fun.
Episode 2 coming soon, folks.
2 years in the making.
Yeah, but we'll be all right. Gloves fitting or not fitting. You never know when you start, especially when you start a new job, which is something I did not too long ago. And you're meeting people for the first time. And you're like, I don't know how long I'm going to work here at this place, or what I'm going to think of these people when I'm done with this place. But every now and then you do get lucky and make people who you walk away from that job considering friends for life. And these two gentlemen are both people who I consider that. I think they're going to be playing some role in my life for as long as I live, which, bad news, fellas, I don't got long left. So make the most of it. But otherwise, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, likewise. I think we're like I said, it's Fast and the Furious all over again. It's ride or die. You guys are family, and this is just one last ride. Until the next time, it's one last ride. Just promise me one thing, guys. Just never get behind the wheel of a Porsche Carrera GT. All right?
Okay. It's funny you should. It's funny you should bring up Fast and Furious. I've got a couple of super chats I want to get through, and you'll realize why nice. I say that. Davenant Coburn, another legend, saying, "I will miss you guys so much. Thanks for coming back for the finale, Chris. Hope your futures are bright." Thank you very much.
Nice. I think you got to read out that name how we used to read out. Just
I think it was
for nostalgia,
Well, I think it was damn it Cockburn was what I used to say, wasn't it? That's how it's spelled.
Someone really should link up Damnate Cockburn with Johnny Cochran, because I think that's going to be, if they decide to go for a double-barreled surname, that's going to be a really interesting name.
It would be. Yeah. But the reason I said Fast and Furious was relevant was because we had another super chat from another legend, old school friend of the show, Just Alexing from the Just Interesting podcast. Nice. £10 saying, "End of an era. Sorry to see the podcast ending, you guys, but it's been a great run. Wishing you all the best. Hope you're all doing well and get all the games on your wish list for Christmas." Alex is a massive Fast and Furious franchise fan. I still don't believe to this day.
What? He's a fan?
Yeah.
He is.
You'll believe it when you pick his brain on it, or like challenge his knowledge, or trivia for Fast and Furious, then you'll believe it.
Do you know why? This sounds maybe this sounds unfair to Fast and Furious, but they're a bit they're not the best franchise, right? It's a bit meh. And Alex, when you talk to him, is like comes across as a very intelligent, very educated man who I would expect his favorite film franchise to be something like a bit high, like more high. Like when you speak to Jamie and you go, Jamie, what are your favorite films? And he lifts off a bunch of stuff and like, yeah, I've never seen any of those.
Jamie
I imagine it to be
pie.
I imagine it to be something similar. Like Alex would list off a bunch of films I've probably too stupid to watch, but no, he likes Fast and Furious, and I like Fast and Furious, and I'm like, you're trying to trick me, aren't you? You're just trying to get me to admit
we all
something.
like shit things, right? Like I think
that's true.
I don't think there's a single person on the planet who doesn't like a shit thing or a thing that other people think is shit.
That is so that's so true. I love a load of
For
shit
the record,
things.
I don't necessarily think Fast and Furious films are shit. I think they serve their entertainment value. I don't think they're good.
I like some of them. I really like.
The first one was sick, man.
One and two, I think, are good. 3, I think, is like a guilty pleasure. Yeah, I like 2.
Tokyo Drift's a pure guilty pleasure.
And then they kind of lost
because
me.
It's got that song with the the petite Asian ladies.
The teriyaki.
Yeah, teriyaki voice.
Oh, I don't remember.
I wonder if you know.
Yeah, you'd recognize it, Jonesy.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a banger. It's a banger. Certified.
Yeah.
Actually.
I'm not suggesting that AB's love of Fast and Furious is remotely like ironic in any way, shape, or form. But I think there's a part of him that knows that like what he's seeing is maybe like, I don't know if I'm treading on anyone's toes by saying this, but like lowbrow entertainment in some respects. But I think that's like knowing what you're going in for and enjoying it for
popcorn
that is
movie.
part of it. Yeah, sure.
Popcorn movie.
Exactly. Christopher Nolan is like a fairly prominent and like outspoken fan of the Fast and Furious franchise.
I thought you were going to say Christopher Nolan was like popcorn movies, and I was going to be like, for God, like Jamie, for crying out loud.
He's like a big Fast and Furious head. He's done interviews about it.
I can totally get on board with that. Like, I genuinely like some films that other people who because I studied film, like I did film at university and stuff, and some of the films that I would say, oh, I really like this, I just get a certain look from some groups that I was at uni with who'd be like, yeah, but like you don't actually like that. I'm like, yeah, I do, I really do. I think it's brilliant. And they're like,
Demolition Man. It's like, yeah,
love Demolition Man. Great, love.
There you go.
That's a good movie.
It is a good film though, so
I was thinking like 300. I unironically love 300.
Oh, 300 is so sick, man. I'll defend that film.
Jamie's face.
It's slick. There you go.
It's slick.
Yeah, it's slick.
Fellas, we are getting way off track here.
We are, but I have a couple more super chats that I just want to nail before we go. Oh no, sorry, I've 2 more. Dunstan,
Nice.
£9.99 coming in like that. I love it. That I always read as £10, and then my wife always tells me off because it's not. She's like, sorry, I read as £9, and she's like, it's 10. I'm like, nah, it's got a 9 in it, and she's like, they're doing you for a quid, and you're getting stitched
Psychological pricing. That you are the fucking gullible fish that is like, I can afford that.
I am.
0.999 recurring is, in some respects, equal to 1 in mathematical terms.
Yeah, no, it is. Of course it is.
Because here's some quick. Do you want to do some quick algebra? Do you want to do the Super Show presents some very quick algebra?
Quick math.
Love to.
Let's go for it.
Let's say x is equal to 0.9 recurring. Then what is 10x?
You've broken me. Say it again.
Will be 99.99999 recurring.
No. If x is 0.9 recurring,
oh, sorry,
10x. Just move the decimal place 1.
9.99.
Exactly. No, 9.9 recurring. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. So now do 10x minus x. And what you're left with is 9x equals 9. Because on the one side of the equation, you're doing 10x minus x, which is 9x. On the other side of the equation, you're doing 9.9 recurring minus 0.9 recurring. So what you're left with is 9x equals 9, which gets simplified down to x equals 1. So you start with x equals 0.9 recurring, and you end up with x equals 1 without actually changing anything.
Okay. But then, sure. Love a bit of maths in the morning.
It's not the morning.
No, I know.
So that's a rough start. Someone out there will have just had their mind blown.
Wow, yeah.
This
totally.
anyway. The super chat was from
Come
Dunstan.
on. I've been pitching the Super Show
Thank you, Dunstan.
algebra since
Thank you.
episode 3.
Thank you,
It's
Dunstan.
episode 3.
Finally, Dunstan says
231 episodes later, I get my moment, and you guys laugh at me.
no. I completely believe you, but I'm just not good enough at maths and algebra to appreciate it.
I'm going to write it down in our chat so that you guys can see how
Yes,
incredible it is.
write it down and then I'll have a look. You say
cool.
it and it's too many X's.
But it did remind me, I did learn this back in ATG days, that Jamie is like startlingly good at maths.
That doesn't surprise me at all, though, really.
When you say it doesn't surprise me, that sounds like you're on some Russell Crowe beautiful mind bullshit. You're calling me autistic. What do you mean it doesn't surprise you that I'm good at maths?
Because it does not surprise me at all. Like, I feel like in another life, you would be... What would you be? Like, you wouldn't be a banker. No, sorry, you'd be like a trader. I can imagine Jamie's like a trader. Like, with all the numbers, he's going, oh, buy this, sell that.
Yeah, I feel like you're doing
Loving
I'm
it.
just picturing,
Wearing
I'm just
like...
picturing Jamie as a crypto bro now.
No. More like...
Jonesy's doing when Zach Galifianakis tries to be Rain Man in The Hangover and all the numbers are going past. Like,
No.
Again, you're just calling me a fucking retard. Say it.
Think the wolf. think Leo in The Wolf of Wall Street. That's what I was thinking.
Leo and the Wolf of Wall Street. See, but his game, that you've missed the whole point of Wolf of Wall Street. He's not a numbers man. He's a charm man. He wins people over. He's a salesman. I'm the opposite of that. You think I could cold call people? Look at me.
I think you could.
Oh, maybe I could. Maybe I'm a charmer.
Anyway, let's get back to Dunstan. Let me get this out. Dunstan says, "Thanks for the good times, lads. Hope we get to hear from you all again in some way. You will. You absolutely will. At some point, if I manage to bully one of them into or both into doing a stream, for example, we might live stream something. That'd be fun. Then we had $2.79 Canadian dollars. I'm going to guess it is
Canadian dollars
from Just a Guy. Thank you, Just a Guy. Massively appreciate it.
Very much. Thank you.
Californian dollars.
Yes, I'm guessing that's what that is.
Alex Jones is all about cessation, right? Like.
CA dollar.
Jonesy watched the film Civil War and took it a little bit too seriously. He thinks it's all fracturing.
It's a good movie. That's a good movie. I will not miss about Civil War.
Why Callum giving us $4.99 as well from the super chat. Thank you,
Why Callum? Thank you. The mayor of Slough himself. Thank you, mate.
Oh, he said sent a super chat about a message. What a fool! Thanks so much for the poll. Well, type your message and then I'll read it.
There you go. Do it.
He did.
No. He said he did a super chat but didn't put a message and said I did it without a message. Oh, thanks so much for the podcast, gang. We'll miss you all. That's the message. I didn't read.
No, there's a follow up one as well.
Oh, let me scroll down.
I didn't realize you scrolled up. My bad. I sent the maths to you guys, by the way.
Okay.
Oh my god, let me see.
Good luck in the future to you, and thanks for the consistently brilliant podcast. Thank you so much for watching and sticking with us. Just a guy with another $6.99 Canadian. I'm guessing it's Canadian. Just says CA with a dollar symbol.
What's this Canadian?
That's what I said. It was Canadian.
What else would it be?
California. I said Californian at first. That's why it threw me.
Californian
with
dollar.
CA. Cape Verde.
Thank you for the Cape Verde dollars. Thank you very much.
You know what? I never knew where Just a Guy was from, and now we figured it out.
Cape Verde, yeah.
Just a Cape Verde guy.
Just a Cape.
Jonesy, you looking at the maths?
I'm looking at your maths.
I was wondering if you'd read maths because you looked like you were having a stroke. You went.
I thought he was just constipated.
You know the face that Stephen Hawking used to do when he was concentrating really hard on typing? He's that one, Chris. That's what
should not have done that. Should not have done that. No.
No, that's been immortalized. Any gift makers out there?
So just going back to saying hope to see more of us. Obviously, you guys were thinking to do some more stuff, but I will say that what I will try and do either this week or next as a little bit of a Christmas present is on the ATG Archive YouTube channel. I'll put up I was thinking like an easy thing for me to do is just put up our playthrough of Resi 7. That was a classic nice. ATG moment for us.
Good one.
So yeah, you can relive some of that as well, and hopefully more to come over there.
Should we put the link to the ATG Archive in the description of this video, just so anyone listening to this has a convenient place to find it?
Yeah, that's a great shout. So we'll add the Discord link and the archive link.
Yeah, all the game changes are there if anyone's interested, and hopefully we'll get some more stuff up there as soon as we can source it.
Nice.
There you go.
Right, Jamie. Game.
I'm at some point we're going to have to broach the topic of whether or not Rockstar belong on this list and in what way, shape, or form. Because again, if it were my 6 and my 6 alone, then Red Dead Redemption 2 would have to be represented, because I think it is one of the finest achievements in video game history by just about any metric. And I know that you two don't feel the same about it. It's probably going to be one of the biggest points of friction in these conversations. Like, there might not be a game that gets brought up that Chris and I disagree about. Not disagree about more, but didn't see the same way or didn't feel the same way about.
Yeah.
As RDR2, but
I agree with you. I agree with you. Like, in a lot of ways. What's weird for me is though, like, more doesn't necessarily like. There's a hell of a lot to Red Dead Redemption 2, but then if I need to boil it down and think about, like, does it belong on a list of the greatest games? I'm like, it's very good and there's a lot of it, but does that make it belong on that list, or is it just outside of the top or the greatest games of all time? Like, if you're going to put Rockstar on there, if you only had to pick one Rockstar game, I don't think that would be the one I would pick.
I think.
Would you put GTA 5?
If we're doing of all time. And I know,
but it's not like it's not an objective thing. It is a subjective list, right?
Exactly. So for me, a game that literally broke my brain and made me think about games differently, and I could not stop playing.
Rockstar Pong, ping pong
was GTA 3.
Table tennis
was GTA 3.
Oh, GTA 3.
Like,
it's not a bad shout, you know.
It's the best argument you could have made, because if you would have said like GTA 5, for example, I'd have laughed you out the room. Not because there's anything wrong with GTA 5, but again, like, I don't know.
In comparison to this, I would be with you that if I had to put the best game from Rockstar on the list, like the best game, it would be Red Dead Redemption 2. But if we're making a list that's the most iconic of all time, then I'm like,
I just don't think we're far enough away yet to know how important or just how standout Red Dead Redemption 2. Like,
you're right. You are right.
I wouldn't wish to try and sway anyone's opinion that, like, or put my foot down this early, and especially not by leaning too heavily on another creator's content. But like, Dunkey made a video, I think in the past week, a 20-minute long video about Red Dead Redemption 2 and essentially how wild it is. And I was sat there watching that video about what is now an over 6-year-old game and saying they could release that next year and it would be the best game of next year. And we would sit there going, oh my God, no other game is doing. And it's like,
that's a very good point.
Well, no, because GTA 6 will release next year.
GTA 6 will probably be the game that kind of finally eats its lunch. But it's like, I watched that and I'm like, wow, like games still can't do what Red Dead Redemption 2 did.
Yeah.
They still can't.
I'd be okay with its inclusion on the list, to be honest. I don't like you said, like, it didn't resonate with me, but I think there's, you know, kind of like Last of Us Part 2, where there's an artistry that you can definitely appreciate on it. Whereas I think maybe I kind of look at the difference between the two. That Last of Us Part 2 is self-indulgent, right, to the point of bloat.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Red Dead 2 is more about freedom and just kind of pushing the envelope wherever possible and just crafting that narrative. So yeah, no objection. Yeah.
I don't like Jonesy's silence. I think this might be one we have to shortlist and come back round to.
No, it wasn't that. I was listening. I was keenly listening and agreeing with a lot of what you guys were saying. There were some comments in chat that I was like, do I want to annoy Jamie to this degree?
No.
Comments?
Like, so spoiler alert, I've got chat open, and like, I read one of them.
Yeah, me too.
I don't mind reading. For example, the Dreader 1 suggests that, like, the point I made about 2025 would be irrelevant because Monster Hunter Wilds would blow RDR2 out of the water because the gameplay is better. And to that, I just have to read and put my hands up and say, like, I have never liked a Monster Hunter game, and I uninstalled the Monster Hunter Wilds beta after like an hour because I wasn't clicking with it or gelling with it at all. So, like, I'm just the wrong guy to have that argument.
Yeah, and I would think that. I would say the same. I'm exactly the same with Monster Hunter. When it comes to, I'm kind of like, this is not untrue, but I feel like maybe it's a little bit too forthright. And Dredder also said RDR2 is too clunky and broken mechanically to be considered good. I'm like, Rockstar do have a problem with, like, some things do feel clunky and not good. I wouldn't say it was like broken.
Yeah.
I was broken. I think is far too far.
Clunky and broken are two very different words, but clunky.
Yeah, I
Clunky.
100% agree with the clunky thing. That's the reason that I fell off it. I was like, to me, it was like playing Red Dead was a chore. And I'm like, I'm time poor at the stage.
Like, the world was incredible.
I don't want to be fighting with a game to eke out the enjoyment.
Yes.
I just want the enjoyment fucking there for me. I don't want to have to fucking kill the cow. I just want the steak. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that for me would be the only thing, because the world is incredible, the characters are fantastic, like the writing, the acting, like most of it is fantastic. But there are some bits where the clunky mechanics do kind of detract a little bit from the overall package. Which I wouldn't necessarily disagree with.
No, I think it's a totally...
Can I just say one thing? If we have to unanimously decide on the 6, we're going to be here all night. And I think because it is such a subjective list...
That's true, that's very true.
You know, we kind of give our piece and maybe try and sway or either which way. But if Jamie really wants it as one of his, then...
I mean, it's definitely up there. Like, it's definitely up there. It really... Like, for me, it really is. It's only because I'm like... But then I would happily put much worse games on there, because at the time they were released, there was like the world was different and games were different, which is maybe unfair. Yeah. Because I do think with modern games as well, and like you say, it only came out 6 years ago, like games have to be so much more nuanced now to break out, because it's so much harder to blow people's minds these days, because they've come so far, if that makes sense.
Mm. Chris, you know how when Jonesy said 6 years ago, you kind of put your hands to your head as I'd say, how is that possible? Do you want to know how we...
No, it's more like how are you thinking that a game 6 years old is modern? But you're kind of right, but also wrong.
If I go back to when I started playing...
What is time, man? We're living in a fucking simulation, so it doesn't matter.
Do you want to know one of the ultimate what is times I had? It was earlier today. Because do you remember month 1 of the Super Show podcast? And I know it was month 1 because we were still shooting in the studio of our former employers. We sat down and we did an episode where we looked ahead to the remainder of 2020, or pretty much the entirety of 2020 at that point. And Jonesy was creating a little a piggy bank, a little fund for something. Do you guys remember what it was? He didn't end up following. No, he didn't end up following through with it. But it was for the collector's edition of the, of course, as yet unreleased by that point, Cyberpunk 2077. And that was one of the first episodes we ever had. And now, on the same day as the final episode ever of the Super Show, 234 episodes later, do you know what happened today?
2.2?
CD Projekt Red did their Red streams for update 2.2. So, like that was just one of the weirdest things for me. That, like the game that was our most this unfathomably anticipated game when we launched the podcast is still getting content added to it as we close our doors. The buggiest game of a generation that outlasted us.
Fucking hell, yeah.
That's crazy.
Okay, let's... Jamie, do you want to add as like a maybe? Maybe we just put all the ones we want to consider into the maybe pile, and then we sift through them, yeah?
Sure.
So by that effect, Jonesy put in Last of Us Part 2.
Okay. I've got another super chat.
Yeah, buddy.
This is from Snifflebox. A legend,
legend
of the Super Show, and before 1999. Amazing, thank you so much. That's very generous and very kind of you.
Fucking sick.
Says you
no,
three.
Jonesy, that's £20.
It's 19.
Actually, guys, I've got some algebra for you if you really. No,
yeah, if you take the X and you shove it up your ass.
Snifflebox says, you three have been a constant in my life for the last 7 years, which is around a third to a quarter of my life. So cheers. It'll be odd without you hilarious combos each week. The E3 2019 streams are highlights of my time on YouTube. That is a long time. 7 years is a very long time. And if you say when you say it's a third to a quarter of your life, that's really weird. But that is amazing that you've been here for that long. So
it's mad. I mean, it's been a long time of our lives. Like it's mad. It's mad. Honestly, it's mad to think about.
It is ridiculous.
For sure.
I have one more before you carry on, Jamie, from Neil D as well. €5 coming in from Neil D saying, thanks for all the laughs, guys.
Yeah.
Been with you since ATG. End of an era. Have a good Christmas and best of luck. Thank you so much, Neil. That is
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
you
thanks,
all
Neil.
being incredibly kind, incredibly generous to us.
Wow, everyone's showing the
It's
love.
making me like not want to. I don't know.
No, I know what you mean. It's also just crazy how many people are still here from whether ATG or whatever it was, wherever they came along the way. Like, I don't know. That's a long time to be following
Anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So thanks for sticking with us. It's great to have you here as we send it off.
Wow.
So okay, we've got RDR2. I've put Last of Us 2 back in. I put Last of Us. I'm going to put 1/2.
Okay.
But I like this. We're going a little bit subjective, a little bit objective, so we can kind of have a little bit of a mix. But I do struggle to say RDR2 shouldn't be in there because that was an incredible game. But yeah, let's have another entry. Chris, what do you reckon? Have you got another one you would like to?
Okay. I've got a few, fellas.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what, because obviously there's some like fucking esoteric ones like that you guys maybe wouldn't agree with or know about or whatever. So I will try and kind of keep it like this, right? I think God of War 2018.
Man, I did write that game down when I think
that's a solid shout.
When I was brainstorming.
Yeah, like I don't know. For me, it hit all those notes of like recontextualizing a gaming like legend, right? Bringing it into the future, kind of modernizing it. Excellent story. Obviously took a big narrative risk, taking a Greek god and putting him in Norse mythology. The interplay with Atreus, and I still think that that kind of combat system with Atreus as your kind of like shoulder buttons or whatever it was, like triangle shoulder, whatever it is. The Leviathan axe, the story, it just fucking all came together. I don't know if it's maybe the time of my life that I played it, because I played it when it came out. My wife was pregnant with my son, and there was this whole thing about like Kratos learning how to be a dad, and then I had the whole thing of like, what's it going to be like to be a dad? Am I going to succeed? Am I going to fail? Like it just kind of brought it all up. And then I think what crystallized it for me, funnily enough, was playing God of War Ragnarok and just realizing how far off the mark it was from what God of War 2018 did.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's a good shout. I think it's a good shout. I think I think you make a lot of good points. It was even the things that I didn't like as much as you did about maybe God of War 2018. They still didn't do much to stop the fact of that being one of my favorite games. Like, from that entire era, like phenomenal. And because I love the original trilogy so much as well of God of War, what they did with it just blew me away, because I was like, oh my god, they've taken something I absolutely loved. Is this going to be crap because of what you've done with it? And you're like, wow, you made it so much better, which is a really good feeling. So I think that's a good show.
Yeah, I genuinely think the only criticism I have of that game was the bit where Atreus started going a bit fucking bonkers. It felt like they went from him being like a little bit bratty to him just fucking being so angry that storms are fucking happening, and that just kind of seemed like there was maybe a little bit of a section missing. But other than that, there's nothing bad I can say about that game other than that little, slight little speed bump along the way.
Yeah, no, and yeah, it is a speed bump. You're right.
Yeah, I even if I wanted to, I'm not sure I really could argue with any praise that anyone has to shower upon God of War 2018. Like, it's strange. Like that game, I remember at the time just had a weird had a hold on me, and like it's rare that like a gameplay formula alone can. And I love the story and the setting and all that stuff, but a gameplay formula alone can sink its claws into me deep enough that like I can do everything there is to do in a game, and still kind of want to do more. And I still remember. I think I might have told this story before, but I took the week off to play God of War, so I couldn't recap with you guys properly until I was back at work the following week. But that week that I had off, there was a night out for I think one of our co-workers was getting married, and it wasn't quite as stag do, but it was like something like that. And Chris, you couldn't make it, but Jonesy, you could. And I went out that night, and it was the night that I had finished the game. And I just remember meeting Jonesy like an hour before we were meant to meet everyone else and going for a drink on our own, and just not being able to shut up about God of War. So yeah, special game. Special game.
On the short list, easy.
I would struggle to kick it off. I like it an awful lot.
Nice. Can I tee you guys up with a game that I haven't played, but I know both of you really like, and I wonder if you'd have an inclusion in this list.
I wonder what you're gonna say. If you, there's one thing you. Okay, I'm not gonna say it.
Okay, you be honest and tell me if I get it right. All right.
Yeah.
Jonesy, do you want to caution a guess, or do you want to hold fire?
Or a game you haven't played but we have.
Yeah, that I think you might consider having it as within this list.
If I was going to guess, are you talking about a new game?
I mean, yeah, let's take your metric of modern game being.
Oh right, no,
it's not. My game's like the one I've got is like 3 or 4 years old.
Okay, no, I don't know. I've got no idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Disco Elysium.
It's Disco Elysium. Yeah.
Oh.
Because I just remember how much you guys fucking loved it.
And you know the thing is, like, I've only gone on to love it more. Like I replayed Disco Elysium in full, start to finish, on the PS5 this year, just to play that entirety of that game again in a marginally different way. I've played it like 6 or 7 times. And it's like, you guys have seen firsthand, if we go back to ATG days, that I have perhaps like a natural role playing and tabletop based game design doesn't come naturally to me. It's not necessarily my my cup of tea, but I love everything about Disco Elysium.
It's so weird. Like I agree with you. Like I absolutely loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Was surprised how much I enjoyed it. It didn't even cross my mind to put it on this list. Maybe because of what it is, because it feels a little different to me.
That's why I wanted to like jump ahead of you guys and be like, this is one for you to talk about.
Yeah, I wrote down 4 games when we first started talking about this, and this was one of those 4.
Oh, okay.
It is fantastic. Like it is fantastic. I'm glad that I played is it the director's cut or like whatever the edition is with the voiceover stuff. I'm glad I played that before playing because I like the voice acting and all of that in it. I think adds a massive element. The only thing in that game that I was a little bit like meh when I got, and it was
I know what you're gonna say,
and you're annoyed at me already.
Not annoyed at you, but like I just think you're missing the point.
Was that I thought there was. Not like most of the game, but there was a couple of points where I thought you would be able to direct a little bit more what happened with the outcomes, and you can't. It's a story, but that's just me, because obviously there's a story that the game unfolds with, and I thought it was a little bit more like open ended, and it wasn't. But that's not the game's fault. That's my fault for getting it wrong, I suppose.
Yeah.
But there was a point at which I replayed the ending because I was like, oh, I wonder what happens, and I was like, oh, nothing. It happens in a certain way, but Jamie's face said it. Like it's not. That's not the game's fault for not being the game. Was it you had a go at me for me before? You're critiquing a game that wasn't, or something, or you're. I can't remember the game we were talking about.
I can't remember. I can't remember what that quote was, but it's kind of in that ballpark. I don't mean to be overly dismissive of your criticism, because I think it is like fair in the grand scheme of things. But I think that Disco Elysium is less about directing where you want the story to go and where you want characters to end up, and more about directing how you want them to get there and who you want them to be along the way. And as someone who has never played Baldur's Gate 3, which seems like it is the kind of best in class for that kind of storytelling and that kind of experience, it's the closest I've ever felt like I've truly actually been able to role play in a role playing game. The closest I've ever felt like dictating who I am and why I am that way, and kind of engaging in the sort of the two-way street that role play can be, where obviously you're playing a game, you're playing a character. Like Harry Dubois is a real person in a virtual sense, and that like I can't make him I can't make him me. I can't make him an accurate reflection of me, but I can buy into who he is, and I can shape who I want him to be through me. In a weird way of putting it. There are so many different variations on that, and there are so many different ways that world and its inhabitants can respond to that. And so many ways that, like, again, role-playing systems and mechanics that I'm usually have an aversion to, like the kind of like the build you kind of go with, or like, you know, what your intelligence and whether you're passing or failing what are essentially, you know, dice rolls in the background determines the outcomes of conversations and which sort of paths of the story you're going to get funneled into depending on how far you get with certain characters. Like reaching a point where like, oh no, like my Harry is so dumb that I have genuinely pissed off this character to the point where I can no longer extract the information that I need from them. And now I need to think about another way around that. And when that itself is wrapped up in like a really interesting, essentially murder mystery story, where you are simultaneously playing as this, you know, alcoholic amnesiac detective who is slowly discovering more and more about himself as it goes on. Like some of the best character, not like obviously the characters and the writing of Disco Elysium are kind of, you know, been widely discussed at this point, but Kim Kitsuragi might be the best sidekick character in video game history. That's my soapbox. That's my hot take.
High praise indeed. If you want a hot trash opinion from me, I think Disco Elysium for me blows Baldur's Gate 3 out of the water. Out of having played Baldur's Gate 3 I only played it for 2 hours, and I tried to.
That's not a fucking. That's not an opinion.
I'm going to side with Chris on this.
No, that's that's why I said I've only played it for 2 hours, but it didn't grab me in any way that Disco Elysium did, and I was kind of blown away by the fact of how much I was into Disco Elysium in the same period of time, and like the world and everything.
Fair. Look,
but that is, but that's not. Sorry, mate. Go on.
So
I was going to say
I played Baldur's Gate 3. Oh, here we go. The power of the internet. I played Baldur's Gate 3. I'm still playing it. I'm absolutely fucking loving it. And I think if I had to create my own like top 6 list, it might be on there.
Okay.
I'll exclude it from this time around. But yeah, that it's such a fucking dynamic game.
Okay.
The myriad of ways that you could approach things. I'll give you a small little snippet of an example. There's a goblin encampment that's going to attack like an elvish, a druid enclave, okay? And you got to go there and you can negotiate. You can just outright murder everyone. You can poison the drinks that they are drinking because they're like goblins. They drink and fucking fight. Like that's what they do. So you spike the drinks and then that's how you can deal with them. Or like there's so many parts, and what's really interesting is as you're going along, it kind of the story interweaves, and it's almost like you were saying with the Stanley Parable. Obviously not to that degree because that's fucking insane, but it's almost like for everything you kind of want to do, there is a way to do it,
right?
A way to achieve it. But you guys haven't played it. I know it's very much not your kind of bag, so I'm just excluding it.
It's something I would still like to play.
My little piece on it. But yeah,
bro, if you decided that this was the podcast where you wanted to put your foot down and make a stand for Baldur's Gate 3, I've heard enough.
No, you know
what? We've already said like so these can be subjective. Like if I
know, but there's others I want to get on the list above it. Right. So
fair enough.
You know, that's also I haven't finished it. I think I'd like to finish it, but then again, I've got games on the list that I haven't finished. So whatever.
So are we putting oh my god, Disco Elysium. Is Disco going on?
That's up to you two, I think. I've made my.
I've got no skin in this game.
But at the same time, Chris, if you let everything pass, then we're gonna end up with a 6 that you might feel underrepresented or not represented by.
No, but I think that's when we get to the shortlist, and that's what that's for. It's a question of like, does it enter into the shortlist?
For me,
that's on you two.
For me, very good, loved it, wouldn't make my list, but I'm happy to put it on there, Jamie, if you want to put it on there.
I don't know, like I don't. Yeah.
No. You see. So Jonesy, you're saying no. My thing is automatically no because I haven't played the game. But now Jamie can say yes or no, and if Jamie says yes, it goes on the list.
Okay.
What's the list at the moment? Because that's the other thing I'm worried about. It's not very long.
Super Mario Galaxy 2, Last of Us 1/2, RDR2, God of War 2018.
Put it on the short list.
Okay.
We can kick it off later, but I think when we loop back around to the short list to whittle, we'll be glad to have it. I've got a feeling.
I'm also going to hit up a couple of super chats in between games. Magni with another 50 knock saying, Jamie, how much money to get a stream of Eternity: The Last Unicorn?
Probably not that much. No money at all, really. I don't know. Like there was a conversation I think just prior to that super chat where Magni and Sniffleblocks were talking about whether or not they can essentially fund a continuation of the Super Show and how much it would cost how much we would need to keep going. And for me, it's not even a question about like, it's not a financial thing. It's not a question about needing anything or staying afloat. It's about like, it's about like goods rendered again relative to money spent and like feeling like I just when it comes to streaming. And to a certain extent, when it comes to the Super Show, like I can never hold up my end of the bargain. Like life's too busy, shit gets in the way too often. Like I can't be a streamer. I just can't do it. I'd love to be a streamer, but like, and I could sit there streaming to 20 people every night if I'm lucky, and I promise I would love every single one of those 20 beautiful souls very much and appreciate all the support they've given me. But like, it takes a long time to turn something like this. From a hobby or a side hustle into something meaningful financially speaking. And
that's the thing, right? Like it's funny. Jonesy keeps on saying he wants to start a company and we make fucking cereal or something. With me, if I had the money, if I won a small amount of a lotto, what I would do is I would I'd get us all to quit our jobs. We all kind of create a company together, surprise, surprise. And all we do is resurrect ATG Live, like in some form. And just our lives on stream, just playing games and fucking around. Because I think, and this might go to one of the upcoming super chats, one of my favorite standout things from the ATG days was that streaming. Like when we got into proper streaming, I look back on it. Obviously, when you're stuck in it and we're trying to figure out, fuck, what are we going to do this week? Oh, bullshit, we can't think of it. But like looking back on it, it's aged like a fine wine for me.
I see. I've just said I want to start a cereal company. I said if I was going to start a company, I was just gone mental, like cakes and cereal. I said if I was going to start a company, I know what it would be. I already know what it would be. We'd be an indie game developer company. But
great, yeah, we've got so much experience.
Hold on, don't jump in.
We can make a sequel to the ball that rolls around collecting the cubes.
Hold European Union Flag Simulator 2020.
Yeah, that's half
2016.
That is half the company. It's the indie game developer. The other half of the company is a content creation, making videos and streaming the games that we make. And it will be like so when they've made like builds and stuff, rather than just testing them, we would like live stream the testing and playing the games.
So like Pirate Software, basically.
Sure,
he does.
Oh yeah, exactly. But he plays a lot of WoW. Like I would do more. We could cross over.
He also streams himself, like making his
playing Hearthstone and stuff. That exactly. But it would be like so. But we would make all the content to come with it. And when they were released, we would do all of like we would do the YouTube stuff and do also like other stuff as well. It wouldn't just have to be limited to the game. But that's the kind of thing it would be. But I do, as we're reminiscing, I have a question. This comes in from Robin. Robin reads audio, the absolute legend. Another family member of ATG / Super Show with a £15 super chat.
However himself.
However, Nazis.
The sultriest voice in the business.
If you've not heard Robin talk, go seek out the Just Interesting podcast and just let it, because
for sure.
Just to hear his voice. Man's got a voice like butter. He said, for each of you, what is your favourite memory from the years of the Super Show / ATG?
Oh man, that's a tough one.
I've got two. Can I go with two? And the only reason it's two is because Chris isn't in one of them that I would have picked.
So you have to come up with an extra one.
And I know exactly what it is, you motherfuckers.
So no, okay. So it's two
Lay it on
combined.
me.
It's two combined, and then it's a second one. So going to Gamescom and going to E3, like absolutely loved it. Like E3, it was like stressful and it was difficult, and we worked our asses off. But it was one of the most legitimate sort of experiences I think we had at ATG. Like feeling like you were someone in that space, and you had access to stuff, and it was really cool. Gamescom was a similar deal, but again, Chris wasn't at the Gamescom I went to.
But I can match that with the time that I went to Gamescom is a standout for me as well.
There you go. Yeah, and I wasn't there.
Like
for that.
like us going to places.
Yeah. Weird. Do you know what the common thread is between the two times that you went to Gamescom, each of you? Is that I was at both of them. Like,
No, it's got nothing to do with you. It was all to do with Germany and those.
Between spending time with me
No,
and
mate.
you guys making
Cologne
great
and those
memories.
little fucking beers that they refill halfway through. And
Yeah, I know.
what were those called?
Kolsch. Yeah,
That
because I remember. I can't remember if it was our first night of that Gamescom, but it was one of them. Amongst our first nights, and like I just remember really wanting to like relax and kind of chill that evening, but I had somehow gotten access to Gamescom opening night live, and this was the first ever Gamescom opening night live. I know it's now like a fixture of Jeff Keighley's annual calendar.
Yeah.
But this was the first one ever. They were debuting Death Stranding gameplay, and it was also at a time where we were kind of like vlogging and taking pictures and doing stuff for the channel. So I was like, right, if I don't go to this thing, then I've kind of fucked up, and like this coming out here was pointless. And so I go, and like I just remember being sat on a chair in this massive room, barely being able to see the screen, not having a fucking clue what was going on.
I remember that.
Jeff Keighley's tinny voice just echoing around this giant German chamber. And in the meantime, I would look at my phone every now and then and just Chris was just sending me pictures of like him and Steph drinking beer and eating these massive bratwursts and stuff. I've never wanted to punch Chris more than I did in that moment. And I was watching the Death Stranding gameplay reveal live. And do you know what else made it suck? It was like Jeff Keighley kept going on about it was the first ever Death Stranding gameplay. And it was Hideo Kojima. You just saw like Norman Reedus like walking for 10 meters, doing a piss, it turning into mushrooms, and that was basically it. I was like, what?
Little did you know that was 90% of the gameplay.
Exactly, because this was during peak. Surely there's more to it than this era for Death Stranding. And there wasn't. And that was fine. But yeah, we don't need to shortlist Death Stranding.
What about you, Jonesy?
Well, I was going to say the other one for me was the Fallout 4 content that we made at ATG.
That was good. Yeah,
that was still to this day like it's one of the because it was a fun shoot. It was Chris and I did it. I think Jamie was away at the time. It was a fun shoot. It was a fun concept. I had a lot of fun making it and doing it, and it I think it popped off as well. And it was like one of the most like the silliest, most fun things I think we did.
Yeah, that was the start of our upward trajectory. Was that video?
Yeah, so that was very cool.
Yeah,
I've got another one for you, which was the first episode of the Resident Evil playthrough.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah.
Specifically, cool. Jamie's jump scare.
Yeah.
Oh, that was it. Head and heart.
Head and heart, and then the taste of copper in his mouth. I love it. That's fucking amazing.
Gotta protect the vitals. Yeah, a lot of those gameplay recording sessions were fun. Even some of the ones we had to do on our own time or kind of after work hours, because there was still kind of a novelty of, like, not like is this really happening kind of feeling, but there was a little bit of that at times where like that channel existing, it eventually doing some of the numbers it was doing, us doing what we were doing and doing it like sometimes like again in a work environment where technically. It was kind of a part of my job to at times play video games or at least have opinions on video games or talk about video games. And then, like you guys said, when it kind of became more real and there were, trips and stuff like that. And again, like, I don't know, like it's hard not to kind of highlight things like E3 and Gamescom because they were both significant in the sense that like, they meant something and they were kind of indicative of kind of what we'd achieved and the value we could bring to, in some cases, in one particular case, the most valuable company on the planet Earth at the moment, pretty much, briefly overtook Microsoft earlier this year. Nvidia. I'm not. There's
Yeah.
actually no need to be coy about it. But also just because like they were great kind of like bonding moments for us. You know, I'm sure a lot of people have experienced, whether it's in a work environment or a school environment or stuff like that, when you go away, when you go on a trip with people and you're traveling together and you're hoteling or Airbnb together and you're eating together and stuff like that, like it kind of, I don't know, that shit hits closer to home in a nice way.
Yeah.
And I remember all those trips super fondly.
Chris,
Sorry.
you didn't do the Tomb Raider escape room, did you?
I did. Yeah, that was cool.
Did we all do
that?
Did that?
Oh,
All of us in row.
There's a picture of the four of us posing together. Do you want to know how I remember the Tomb Raider escape room?
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Well, so let me paint a picture for Jonesy and anyone else that doesn't remember.
I know what he's going to say.
We get invited to do this Tomb Raider escape room. It wasn't even tied into a Tomb Raider fucking video game. It was tied into the Tomb Raider Alicia Vikander movie, which no one other than Jonesy fucking saw anyway. Piece of shit. And it's like, oh, you're gonna. We've rented out this like 6x6 foot box in London, and you're gonna like crawl through a crawl space, and you're gonna do this, and you're gonna do that. It's gonna be super cool. It's gonna be super Tomb Raidery. And we get there, and they're lacing us up and bracing us up, and it gets time to put on this harness because there's some part of the thing that needs a harness, and they can't fit the harness on me, and like the guy's being really gentle, and let me tell you, like when you have a big belly, it's not like it's not like an immovable object, like it's soft, and like so you can like. You can make stuff that's too tight, and I kept saying to him, "You can go tighter, you can go tighter," and he wouldn't do it. The guy wouldn't belt me up, and in the end, he was like, "I'm sorry, mate, they're not going to fit." And so I said, "Well, what does this mean? Can I not do the fucking Tomb Raider escape room now?" And he was like, "No, you can do it, but there's a big finale at the end where you're going to rappel down off the edge of the cliff,
a zip line,
and pyro is going to go off, and we're going to take pictures of you." And you say, "Oh, great! So I can crawl on my hands and knees through the fucking cardboard, but the bit where I get to rappel down and pyro goes off, I don't get to do that." Fine. And let me tell you, there is nothing more demoralizing, more dehumanizing than getting to the end of an escape room and watching your friends, one by one, go down this fucking swing, pyro going off, flash photography, and then a man in a fluorescent jacket comes up to you and goes, "This way, mate." And you follow him down a dark staircase and meet your friends at the bottom and say, "I hope those pictures look great."
I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
I had a great time.
I've got one more, probably before we need to move on from this topic. And funnily enough, it does partially involve the sultry voiced Robin himself. At the start of ATG, like very early on, it was almost like Skunkworks. We had to do a lot of the stuff to get that channel off the ground after hours. And one of the times we were doing some gameplay capture, and we're doing Rainbow Six Siege when it first come out. And we went to another floor from where we usually were doing our editing. And we left our bags down on that floor. And we went upstairs and we set up the monitor, set up the recording, had a good time. That was all good. Had some laughs. I remember I threw a grenade and then rappelled down onto it and blew myself up. So
fondly remember
it's a good
that.
Start to, yeah, it's good
Tom
start to
classic. He actually wrote
to a
that
gaming channel.
books.
Yeah. And then we're like,
That's
okay,
how we
cool.
died.
We're like, that's enough for today. Let's head on out, and we'll edit this tomorrow. And we went downstairs, and the cleaners of the building had locked the door where our bags were and our consequently house keys. And we had no way to get there. And we were thinking and racking our brains how we could get into this room. I was like adamant that Jamie could rappel me from the roof because we could get access to the roof and I could rappel down. I'm still adamant I could do it.
Well,
another one was we could just get a plank across like the one window to the other window.
No, you just wanted to climb. You were going to climb out the bathroom window, weren't you? And going to climb across.
It was the rappel. You should note, Chris. The rappel we were going to make was anyone who's ever been in one of those bathrooms where instead of like hand towels or a dryer, they have one of those like the towels that you pull down and they're on like a. How would you guys?
It's a circular. It's a loop towel, like a loop of towel.
Yeah, it's like on a spindle and it's one continuous piece.
Yeah, and when you pull it down, the wet part goes up.
It's not paper. It's like cloth.
Yeah, and I said that stuff is so strong that if we like broke one of those boxes and pulled out a whole roll of it, then we could make Chris like a diaper sort of system out of that, and I could lower him down out the window.
But but hold on. But people hearing this thinking like, oh, it probably wasn't that high up. No, this is like the third and fourth floor. It was insane. He definitely would have died.
The roof was above fifth. So it was fifth floor and then the roof.
Okay. So it would have been even higher. It was absolutely insane. And it was like, no, this is a terrible, terrible idea. Someone's going to die. And in the end,
could have done it.
In the end, Robin saved the day.
He did. We had to. Poor Robin. This is when I knew definitively. I had my suspicions, but definitively I knew that Robin was a living legend. We had to call him. He had already gone home, and we called him and asked him to come and like open up for us with his keys, because he had the office keys, I remember. And to his credit, he did, and we treated him to a pizza, and we just played more games because we're like, fuck it, like we're in for the long haul.
He definitely saved the day.
That is such a good memory for me. It had everything you wanted: intrigue, mystery, daring adventure, capers. It's like move over Ocean's 11. Like,
I don't remember you ordering capers on your pizza.
Nah, I don't like capers, mate.
Oh, I love a caper.
Give me sorry, it's a slightly delayed one. I just forgot I had it. Yeah,
hey. I've got something I know you want though, Chris. It's another super chat coming in from Chris Thompson, $10 super chat. Never super chatted before, but just wanted to say thanks for the entertainment and laughs the last few years. Thank you, Chris Thompson. That's very generous.
Amazing.
Of you.
Thanks,
You're
Chris.
Absolute legend. Thank you so
name,
much.
by the way. Yeah.
Very good.
Pretty good.
Should we get back to this?
So I think
Never-ending
Disco Elysium was the last one we were on. So I actually thought of one whilst we were talking about all that stuff. For me, Fallout 3. I think Fallout 3 was the game that introduced me to an entire genre that I never thought I would sort of be into as much as I was, and loved it, had a great time, thought it was fantastic. It has a lot of the jank that that you get, but yeah, no, I have a lot of love for that, a lot of time for it. I'm not saying if you went back and played it now, it would be quite as, it would feel quite as good.
Yeah,
I'm sure it would.
I don't know if it's a top 6.
Fair.
My problem is, I think that if we, because I eventually, in my kind of short list of games that I made note of, did go down the BGS route as well. My problem is I think all three of us have a different favorite one in terms of Bethesda games. I think we're Fallout 3, Oblivion, and I'm guessing Morrowind, Chris.
Yeah. Although if we're talking Fallout, like
maybe 4,
probably what's become a trash opinion. I've actually got more hours in Fallout 4 than I do Skyrim.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but like Morrowind for me. But like I wouldn't like Morrowind is it's funny, like I was talking about Red Dead Redemption 2 being a game that kind of pushes back on you and kind of gets in its way. That's Morrowind as well, but I think I was young enough that didn't matter to me.
Right.
Yeah. Could be part of the appeal sometimes. Like, sometimes you want those rough edges. You want something that kind of like pushes back in, especially if they're rough edges that over the course of 10, 20, 30 years, you've got extremely familiar with, and you know how to push back against the ways that games pushes against you.
Yeah. Also, I think it goes to kind of what Jonesy was saying about like a game series that opens up a new avenue for you. Morrowind was that for me. It was my first kind of Bethesda game. And before then I was like, I didn't know games could be like that.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I don't know,
Josie. That's up to you. Do you want it on the shortlist or not?
I'm happy to be swayed on a different Bethesda game if you guys want to come to a consensus on a different one. But like I said, because even like Skyrim for me, I thought was phenomenal. Like blew me away. But that's I didn't play Morrowind, and I haven't played any of the other sort of like Elder Scrolls games. It was only
I just kind of felt like Morrowind was like this like high watermark for creativity, and then it got stepped down a level for Oblivion, but Oblivion did improve on the kind of almost kind of immersive sim elements to it. And then I feel like Skyrim, as popular as it was, it just kind of dumbed down all the things that made the previous two great in their own aspects.
Yeah. What would you say to someone who said that Skyrim changed their life? They thought it was that good.
Oh, that's fair.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to give me a sassy response. Because in chat, friend of the show, Steph Murphy, just said, Skyrim! That game changed my life.
Steph!
Oh,
Steph!
Good to have you. I'm just looking now as well. I also want to give a shout out. Steph said earlier when we were reminiscing, said, I remember the Blasphemous stream like it was yesterday. And I wouldn't blame you guys, either of you two, for not remembering the specifics of the Blasphemous stream.
I remember.
But it was where the infamous phrase was coined, oh, that came out well fast. I think Steph said in reference to like an enemy's projectile speed. And then I immediately said, imagine if that's what you said to apologize to a girl after nutting too early. Like, imagine if you were pumping away for 5 seconds and then stopped and she just had, oh, that came out well fast. And we laughed about that for a long, long time.
Well, I'll tell you what, speaking of Steph, I also remember his first one of his first appearances was on the Overcooked 2. I don't think it was a stream, was it? I think it was a Let's Play.
It was a recording.
But yeah, I think that was a coin flip moment for Steph in either thinking these guys are absolute fucking morons, or actually I think I can be okay with these guys.
I think, but the first thing I think of when I think of Steph is time on ATG is when he said about walking home, and he said, I'm walking home for a mile, and it was about Rage 2 and about how like game worlds and how nothing's going on. He's like, I'm not talking to anyone. I'm not doing anything. I was like,
I remember when Steph was talking about, what was he? He's like, I might be butchering this, so Steph just correct me in the chat, but he was saying something about like he put on Metallica, Enter Sandman, and by the time the song finished, he could have walked from the office to King's Cross. Which is like, just for context, was like a 20-minute walk.
He did have a fast ride on him, Steph, when he wanted to pump it up.
Yeah. If we go back to the task at hand, I personally don't see any Bethesda game.
Fair.
That's what I was going to lean towards. The more we talked around the various titles that could be on there, the more I was like, maybe none of them.
Yeah, like I love Bethesda and what they do, and I'm one to always defend Bethesda jank, quote unquote. But yeah, I just don't think it's not the time and place.
From one B studio to another, I'm going to do it like this now. Let's talk Blizzard.
Okay.
Oh, we were talking about
to Chris here.
Yeah, we were talking about hot takes and trash opinions.
Yeah.
I don't think Blizzard will ever recover. In my eyes, at least.
But by recover, do you mean like reach the high points of like the early noughties? Or okay.
Yeah.
I can agree.
I think it's a complete downward trajectory here, and I think what I'd suspect to happen is they will get to stabilize at a mid or maybe a high mid tier and never excel beyond that.
Do you know what's funny? I agree with you in one sense. I don't think they'll ever recover. I think that financially they could recover, and I think probably will. Insofar as I think that they can make as much money as they've made on things like World of Warcraft, on Overwatch. I don't think financially they'll be absolutely fine. They'll be laughing, and not just because they're linked to Activision and King and everything, but on their own in their own right. However, I don't think to the audience, to the players, they'll ever recover.
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. And like take Diablo 4 as a prime example of that. Diablo 4 is not a good game, and if you think it is, you're wrong. But it's like, I think it was the fastest selling Blizzard title ever.
Right.
So it just goes to show you that like that there is this kind of disconnect where, the Blizzard name still goes quite far, but I think people are giving them a lot more credit than is due. And, Jonesy, you and I, we listened to the Jason Schreier book about everything that happened at Blizzard, and it's quite clear that the people that made Blizzard what we think Blizzard is or was, they're no longer there. They're no longer there, or if they've come back in a capacity that's either greatly diminished or not doing what they should be doing.
I think you're right. I think the ethos of Blizzard has gone so completely that you can never get that back. One of my shout from Blizzard though, and I think for me it's like, I think Overwatch. I think I'd put Overwatch in there, which I can see your faces, but at the same time I'm like, Overwatch, like I've been playing Marvel Rivals recently, and I'm not by any stretch saying and it's like the most that Overwatch is the most sort of like be all and end all game. But when I think about what Overwatch is, what it was, and its legacy, I think it's pretty epic. And how much time I put into it and played it and enjoyed it as well. Like,
see, I disagree with you on one word there, and it's the word that kills it for me, and that's legacy. I don't think the Overwatch legacy as a collective is a positive one.
okay,
I think if you'd stop the clocks at the end of 2016, the year that game came out, you'd be like, somehow Blizzard have kind of done it again. They've come out with this bright, accessible, fun multiplayer title with a really inventive roster of characters, and games are really trying to piggyback this and emulate this for years to come. And that did happen for a little while. And I just think that the Overwatch, for me, and I can only speak for myself, that the Overwatch trail off, even pre-Overwatch 2, was pretty significant.
Yeah.
That's more significant than I even thought it would be. And then I think Overwatch 2 just, it hasn't necessarily like muddied the waters in like in a like horrible way, depending on how you feel about kind of the way they communicated that game during its development and the sacrifice of some of the content that they planned for that title, like the single player stuff or the narrative driven stuff. But like, I can't get behind Overwatch on legacy terms, if that's the word you want to use.
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't. I just thought.
StarCraft 2.
No, do you know what? Like, I love those games, and my tippity top of Blizzard is Diablo 2, and just under that is Warcraft 3, and I wouldn't add either of them on this list. I think, like, ask me that 5 years ago, and probably there'll be a different stance. But I just think games have come out since then that I've just resonated with more. If I got to distill it to two that are my choices, like, yeah, like they're not going to make my list, unfortunately.
That's fair.
Maybe
I'm over egging it with Overwatch, but I that to me it just seemed, and it's fresh in my mind, obviously because I've been listening to Play Nice, but I do like it seemed
like if you want to talk about legacies and first person like PvP for FPS games, like there are perhaps even multiple that I'd put ahead of it.
Yeah.
Oh no! Yeah. As games that have created a legacy for themselves that have continued after the fact. Do you mean, or do you just mean how?
Both.
Or are we saying that we're not adding? Because, like I said with Dota 2, like we're not adding games as a service, which Overwatch kind of.
You just kind of say that.
I think you can Overwatch add Dota 2 if you want.
So I can get Marvel's Avengers in there.
Absolutely, you could. I don't think anything should be off the table, personally.
Jonesy, if you want Overwatch, that's added to the shortlist.
I think shortlist if you think that.
I was floating it. I definitely
mad to, but
I definitely wasn't definitive.
I can't remember you talking about Overwatch since 2017. It feels a little bit like you've listened to an audiobook and feels like you need to represent.
No, I've
never even liked that many of their titles.
No, I've not. But I'm trying to look back. I'm trying to also look back and not just look at games that are like current. I'm trying to look back at games in the past. I had enough
that we talked about is looking back so far.
So what Jonesy's saying is that's his entry into Games for Impact in 2017.
Jeff Keighley, you hear that?
I'm trying to push it back further. Another one I was going to suggest for going back further was Need for Speed Underground 2, which was
I can fucking get behind that.
Legend of a racing game. I think probably my favorite racing game that I've ever played.
Yeah, ditto. My favorite racing game for sure. The soundtrack, the graphics for the time, the customization, kind of, and Alex will love this because it kind of goes into that whole Fast and the Furious aesthetic. It was around about that similar time.
It was a very similar time, yeah.
People don't realize this, but you know what? Honestly, what made Need for Speed Underground 1 and 2 the best in the series? Any guesses?
No.
Any guesses? Anyone? Bueller? No?
Wait, say the question again. What made
both of the Underground series the best Need for Speeds?
The soundtracks?
No. No cops.
I see.
Okay.
No cops.
It was a much more race focused game.
It was race focused. It was chill. It was like, it was everything you could possibly want in a race game. And I get it. Like, for some people, like Need for Speed is you versus cops, and I get that. But I think as soon as they removed the cops, that's where it kind of like hit the NOS button, baby. It just went. Pew! It was so fucking cool, especially the second one with the open world. Like if you think about when that came out, and that was an open world racing game, like it's actually fucking mad to think about.
So,
like what year was that?
Jamie's like
2002, 3.
2002, 3.
I want to. Depends when the. But or was 1 3 and the other 4 maybe.
Well, I said 2. Which is the one with the
2004?
Dum 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 dum. Was that 2?
I think that was 2. Yeah,
I think that was 2.
I think that was 2.
Which one had Riders on the Storm?
That was 2 for sure.
Okay, yeah. So
I say this like I'm definitively know it. I don't fucking know. It could be either of them.
Sounds like you two are pretty set on this being shortlisted, though.
I'll shortlist it. I don't think it'll make the list for me. I don't know if a racing game belongs on this kind of list.
I was going to say
because then we could talk about like GTA.
Oh no, my bad. It was Need for Speed Underground 1 that had Get Low on it. So I would say 1 over 2 then. That's the one that I was thinking.
Hang on a second.
Soundtrack. Yeah.
You've just distinguished between 2 games which one you want to shortlist based on the inclusion of the song Get Low.
No. My memory of the games, because it's so long ago, I find it hard to distinguish between them. But I had more enjoyment. I had more enjoyment with the one that I know it had Get Low on it, because every time you logged into that game, the menu had that.
Yeah,
exactly. It started with that, and I was like, oh, this game is so good. And I was So that my shout would be 1, but 2 was fantastic. But I was trying to figure out which one was the one I was thinking of when I was thinking.
I kind of feel like with 1 and 2, it's kind of that Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. They're both great games, but when I look at Super Mario Galaxy 2, it took everything that Galaxy 1 did and then just did it better. And I feel the same for Underground 2.
I'm happy to put Underground. Let's go Underground 2 then, because they're both phenomenal.
Cool.
Okay. I've got an idea.
Yeah, go on, Jamie. Go on. You.
I feel like this could end up being the closest we'd have to a consensus pick from probably one of the more important and significant developers of the last 12, 13 years, who in making these such works kind of created a new genre and massively affected all the other genres around the genre.
Was that a Freudian slip there?
No. What did I say? Massive
Effect.
Oh no! I mean, I might bring that game up
Andromeda.
later. I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say massively affected all the other genres that circled the genre they created. Elden Ring.
I know. I was waiting for someone to say it.
I don't want to say. I was going to bring it at the end. Elden Ring is 100% one of my entries. Like not even shortlist. Like it's there.
I mean, it's.
And I'm so happy to hear you say that, Jamie.
It is the game that they've. I'm sad that more of their games don't speak to me, and I wish I could sit here as someone who is as passionate about like Bloodborne or one of the Dark Souls trilogy as some people are. But like Elden Ring was where a lot of it clicked for me, and it didn't click because they'd watered it down for me. You know, it clicked because they packaged it in a way that was just a little bit better suited to my tastes and my needs in some case, but without losing any of their edge. And again, I think when we're talking, like we put God of War 2018 on this list. God of War 2018 would not play like God of War 2018 if From Software were not doing what From Software were doing.
Yeah, 100%.
Like the light and heavy attacks wouldn't have been bound to R1 and R2 on a third-person action game if it wasn't for what From Software had done in the years prior to that. And I think Elden Ring was kind of like the pinnacle of a lot of that, and that's from someone who wishes they liked those games more.
I genuinely think Elden Ring is one of the best games ever made.
You've won me round. I like not won me round. Like I agree with that a From Software game should be on that list, and I'm with you. Like of the 2 that I've spent any time with, Elden Ring is I prefer, and I have times when I really enjoy it, and then I just literally hit a wall where I'm like, I'm so over this, and then I don't, and then I won't go back to it for a month, and then I'll go back to it and be like, I love this, and then I'll be like, I'm not touching this ever again. So I'm kind of with you, but it is a phenomenal achievement, and I agree that something from Software should be in there. And that's a great shout.
On the list.
It's
on.
talking about FromSoft. It also brought up a core memory for me from ATG when we did the Sekiro stream. Not necessarily that there was anything like stand out about it, other than being an enjoyable stream. But yeah, just the fun of us kind of, because up to that point we weren't really Souls players, any of us. I think I've gone down the rabbit hole probably the most out of all of us, but I'm glad to see Jamie's got there with Elden Ring. But something with it's almost like I don't know if I would have gotten into it if we didn't stream it, because we're streaming it and you are forced to stick with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And us sticking with it, and we got to that guy that was like the big ogre dude with the red eyes that was like fucking doing wrestling moves on you, and
I remember,
like, just consistently sticking on it. I think that's when it started to click for me, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, it's fucking hard as nails, but I'm kind of enjoying it, and I'm enjoying eking out, the continuation of it. Yeah, definitely a highlight for me. But Elden Ring 100% needs to be on this list.
Done.
Did you have another one, Jamie?
I was going to maybe like slightly address my my Freudian slip and say that like I would also, while we're at it, put forward Mass Effect 2 as the best game in my favorite. Well, I was about to say my favorite trilogy of RPGs of all time, but there haven't been very many like neat, succinct, perfectly wrapped trilogies, I guess, for it to fight against. I just think though, like as someone, like I guess to address it early, I didn't play KOTOR, for example. So in terms of like, when Western RPGs were kind of like really on the up and up, and BioWare and Obsidian and companies like that, and I suppose Bethesda you could throw in as well, and like were kind of really flexing their muscles for the first time. Mass Effect 2, well, Mass Effect in general, but Mass Effect 2 being the peak, was my first exposure to kind of like some of those RPG fundamentals. And you guys know through our conversations about like the Star Wars and Star Treks and etc. I'm not a big sci-fi guy, but I still it might be one of my favorite sci-fi worlds in terms of its approach to planets and to races and to politics. Like and even like simplistic as it might seem with hindsight, when we've had conversations in this chat about the Disco Elysiums and Baldur's Gates of the world, like the things like the Renegade and Paragon system, and the idea of having some kind of choice and being like a good guy or a bad guy, and that having some impact on the outcome of your story. Like that was some of my first exposure to that stuff. And if you're going to find a way to create or structure a game's narrative so that your choices really end up mattering, then I'm not sure you can get anything more significant than a literal suicide mission where everyone on your entire team can die if you haven't like won them over. And I know things like companion quests, they're just like, they're in the nomenclature now. We know what they mean. They're quests that you do for a specific companion to like win their allegiance, so that that they can help you later down the line, or they're more likely to survive something. But again, I was experiencing a lot of that stuff for the first time as a result of Mass Effect. I mean, the first one came out when I was 13, 14. So it was kind of like, yes, significant for me in that sense. And I replayed and platinumed all three when that package came out a handful of years ago. I think they have still aged remarkably well. It's also like one of the greatest ways to measure how much you loved a series, or how much a series could mean to you, is how disappointed you are by a bad one. And the fact that Andromeda still, the fact that it's still, and the content we made for Andromeda still lingers long on the mind, is a testament to the lasting impact that Mass Effect has had for me. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
It's so funny, like you talking about that just makes me wish that you clicked more with Baldur's Gate 3. Because that's basically what you're describing is that.
I know.
But I get it.
The horrible thing is, Chris, I probably will click with Baldur's Gate 3 one day, and we're going to come back here to some weird future universe where there's another podcast, do this again, and I'm going to say, I was wrong. Like, Baldur's Gate 3,
you had me at, I don't even know what the first thing you said was. You had me at Companion Quest. Mass Effect 2 on the list.
Yeah, I think you had Jonesy at the Freudian slip there. I was never a big Mass Effect guy, so I wouldn't.
And again, like
put it in there.
You played KOTOR, right? Or
yeah.
And so like the funny thing is, Mass Effect probably wouldn't have hit as hard for me if I had played KOTOR or maybe even Jade Empire. But like, it was a bit of a time and place thing for me with like the 360 being my first like proper console that was kind of my own, and like you said, Mass Effect coming out. Like a lot of games came out in 2006 and 7 and 8, where again I was between the ages of like 12 and 15. And I had my first real console that was mine, and I was playing Oblivion and Mass Effect and Gears of War and many others that kind of shaped a lot of my gaming life, for want of a better way of putting it.
Yeah. That's fair. I think if that's probably a very good reason to kind of have it is like a game like this, a list like this should have games that, like Jonesy said with Fallout 3, and you're saying with Mass Effect, it's like opened your eyes to the possibility that gaming could introduce to you. I think that's a very good way of looking at these kinds of lists.
You have something like that you can think of, that you could pinpoint?
I mean, like I said, Morrowind, but I wouldn't necessarily add it. Okay, yeah, there is one. I wouldn't add it to the list though, although I can't. Okay, I'll add it to the shortlist, but I don't think I'd have it as my choice. And I know you guys won't choose it either, but that's the OG Final Fantasy VII.
I have that written down as like a prompt just in case we didn't get there.
Yeah, mate, like honestly, I think before that game, like I remember I'd never heard of any of the fucking Final Fantasies. And I think it was like the start of high school, and a friend of mine was like selling bootlegged games. And one of them, not bootleg, like, like Pirates games, whatever. One of them was Final Fantasy VII. I'm like, I don't know what this is. And he sold me on it so hard. Later on, I found out he never even played it. He was just bullshitting me. So completely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I played that, and I was like, I think up to that point, I'd been very much a mainstream gamer. And that opened up my eyes to like what's possible in a narrative space, in just an imaginative space. Like, it is quite strange to kind of think of that, but yeah, that's definitely one that opened my eyes to the possibility of what games could be, and definitely broadened my interests in gaming a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, I like the argument for that. I know you're not gonna bat for it too hard, but I do like the argument.
I feel like, how can you not put Final Fantasy VII on that list? Like, it's everyone who ever makes a list about the greatest games of all time is going to put that up there.
Yeah, well, that's like let's put it on the short list because I'm willing to go through it. I do have another one, which is maybe going to be because I know we do need to kind of wrap up at some point. Going to be my last recommendation here.
Yep.
It's a big one for me, and I think it might be a big one for Jamie. I don't think it's going to be a big one for you, Jonesy. Jamie, do you care to take a guess?
Oh, man. I've got some things that I could guess out of nowhere, but I feel like, I don't know, could you...
It's one of them where if I say it, you'll be like, oh yeah, for sure.
Is it a Nintendo Plinky Plunky game?
Yes, it is. That gives it away, basically, I think.
I think I know what you're going to say, but then you could also, like, be... I guess it depends on, like we just kind of encapsulated it. Like, are you thinking of like the Mass Effect 2, or you think of the Final Fantasy VII OG? I think you're thinking modern, and I think you're thinking Breath of the Wild. Yeah,
baby.
Baby. Jonesy, I don't know how you feel about this, but I wrote down on my personal list BOTW/Ocarina.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you see, I think that's fair to add both of them, but I've always said that I've had a love-hate relationship with Zelda, and Breath of the Wild was pure love. I don't know how to put it. Like, when I think of a game like Elden Ring, Breath of the Wild is the same reasoning. It's just such a complete game with such a a wide variety of things to do. The alchemy system that they've got in there, even going back to like, understanding why it resonates so much with you, looking at those GDC talks about fucking triangles, and you're like, this game is everything.
Yeah. And it's aged well.
That's
like
it aged exceptionally well.
I fired
and again, like followed up by a lesser version of itself.
I was just thinking, like, it's interesting to me that you haven't even floated. What I can't remember what it's called.
Tears of the Kingdom.
Tears of the Kingdom. I haven't even played it, Jonesy. To be fair, who knows? I might have liked it more then. But
I played it. It's got a novel, like it's novel in some ways, but I don't think it's better. I don't think it's an improvement. I don't think they've added anything.
I kind of agree. Like, I really admire a lot of what Tears of the Kingdom does in terms of its like mechanics and the tools it gives the players to fuck with, but a lot of that stuff just didn't quite hit the same as like Breath of the Wild was like a bit of not a shock per se, but like you were surprised to see some of the things that Nintendo were doing, and you were surprised to see that Zelda was the vessel through which they were doing it. And I remember lying on my Switch, lying on my bed, playing the Switch. If I lay on the Switch, that screen would get correct. And messaging Chris because Chris, I think you'd got on the Switch before any of us, if I'm not mistaken.
I got it on release day.
Yeah, because I got it like 6 months later for some reason. At the time, I just wasn't.
Did you?
Yeah, that's one thing that like maybe not 6 months. In fact, no, it couldn't have been a full 6 months because I remember there were still stock conversations.
Right. Okay.
Like it still wasn't like a thing where you could just like walk into a shop and buy it. But I definitely got it after you because I remember messaging you on the weekend that I got it, and it was when you're still on the plateau that you start Breath of the Wild, and it was the point that I realized that like there was a weather system in the game, and that Link could get cold based on like what he was wearing relative to the weather. And it, this was again pre Red Dead Redemption 2, which ironically did some similar things, and that like the game was teaching you about how you could like chop down firewood and make fires to use to get body warmth that way, or how you could make certain meals, and that if you made meals that had chilies in them, then you could I was just and I messaged you thinking like this is kind of like crazy, and to see some of the things that I thought were crazy inside the first half an hour to an hour extrapolated over the course of this entire adventure. One that like I had an emulator weekend literally 2 weeks ago, and like I sat there and played some more Breath of the Wild on my Wii U emulator because you can get it
4K
running
60
exactly. And the reason I did it is because my PC is plugged into my TV now, so I'm actually playing it at like a native 4K on a 4K TV, and I can turn on cheats that mean that there's no durability, no weapon durability,
you bloody cheat.
Which gets rid of the one thing I don't like about that game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. That is the one blemish on that game.
But again, they make it work, and it makes the Master Sword more significant. I would not argue with this being shortlisted.
No, I completely agree. I think it's an easy one to put on the list.
Guys.
Jonesy, sorry, Chris, go for it.
I was just saying, like, talking about this now just makes me want to fire up my Switch and just play it.
I mean,
which is always a good sign, right? Like, that's what you want when you have these kinds of discussions.
Wait till next year when the Switch 2 comes out and they sell you Breath of the Wild remastered for 60, and it still looks and runs worse than it does on my PC. And
honestly,
PC.
I would be stupid enough to. I'll do it.
I would too, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you know what also pushed me over the edge? Imagine this. Imagine if, for some reason, they decide the Switch 2 is the perfect time to make Nintendo Switch Online, or whatever they call it, next console, have an achievement system similar to like the Xbox achievements or PlayStation trophies, and they went back and like added in trophies or achievements for Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
I would have to go back and do the whole thing all over again.
Well, you know what I'd like to see them do is do kind of like what PlayStation did with the PS5, is like just have an upgrade path for some games and do it for Breath of the Wild. I would definitely jump into that.
Same. And Odyssey. Just as you used to play that again. Jonesy, I feel like this shortlist needs a little bit of AJ.
Jonesy flair. Yeah.
I
feel like we need like a rune or a broken sword or something like that.
Citizen Kabuto.
Yeah.
Timmy! That was it. those are all great games. But however, I don't think they belong. I don't think for whatever reason, like they're not the pinnacle of whatever they are at the time. They're very good, very enjoyable. I was gonna throw out a couple of Ubisoft titles that come to mind.
Oh. Here we go. Prince of Persia 2, the two thrones. Here we go. No, the shadow, the warrior within
wasn't even
the Godsmack one
was not going to be a Prince of Persia game. Was in fact going to be Assassin's Creed 2 and Far Cry 3.
Man, you picked two very good ones.
Yeah, and I guess like as much as you can say negative things as well as positive things about Far Cry 3, more like what you like about it is the first half of the game and not the second half of the game. But also when you think about how much that game shaped the industry for better and worse.
Yeah, like talking legacy earlier about with like not saying Overwatch didn't have much of a legacy. I mean, Jesus Christ, Far Cry 3 has too much of a legacy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like so much of a legacy. It goes back around and now people hate it. But Jonesy, I can show you a 20-ish minute video essay made by some guys called All Time Gaming about why Far Cry 3 ruined gaming. So I don't know why you'd include it on this list.
Because they were wrong. No, it ruined gaming, but because it was too good and too successful. No, I think Far Cry 3 for me, like let's forget about that weird end section. I'd love to know the story on that. Yeah. Jason Schreier needs to do a book on that at some point. But no, Far Cry 3 for me, I thought was it was like the characterization of Vaz was obviously a massive part of that for me. It was the introduction of kind of those systems and those loops that they utilized with the and it. Phenomenal, absolutely loved it, but at the same time it was kind of simplistic, and it was the fact that they used like a lot of stuff we'd seen before and done before, but in an interesting new way, because it didn't do anything crazy new in a lot of ways. It was more like combining a bunch of systems and putting it in a cool game with a cool character.
It's a bit like, to interject, like what McDonald's would end up doing for parts of the food industry. Where people go, oh my god, that is a really efficient way of giving people what they want.
Sure, like it's not necessarily the best way that it's ever been done, but do you know what? Do you know what's the biggest burger place in the world now? It's McDonald's, because that's what people want.
Yeah,
and you know what else? What else it is? Fucking delicious.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
You know what else is interesting? Is one of my inclusions on the shortlist takes a direct inspiration from Fallout 3.
Which is
Far Cry 3, which is the towers in Breath of the Wild.
Oh, very that climb the tower thing.
They intentionally inverted it, right? Where like we're going to give you towers, but then we're going to force you to make your own markers.
Yeah.
So it's like a really interesting way of like acknowledging like what was then becoming a trope of Western open world game design, and saying how can we kind of use it to re-empower players rather than like
how do we Nintendo-wise it?
Right.
I've got a controversial take for you, Jonesy. And I guess only really I don't know, let's see. Far Cry 3 is worse than Far Cry 2. Far Cry 2 is the far superior game.
Oh, that's a hot take, and I love it. Malaria Simulator 2008.
Yeah, and I believe it. By the way, I'm not just trying to.
No, I believe
annoy Jonesy.
I can't.
I mean, they are wildly different games.
Yeah,
and Far Cry 2
couldn't be more different.
Yeah, and Far Cry 2 is a really fascinating thing to look back on. I don't know if I agree with you, but it's interesting.
I'm trying to even think of like. I don't know if I actually played. Was it Far Cry 2? I played Far Cry 1 or Far Cry 2. I can't remember which, but I didn't play both of them.
Far Cry 2 is the one in Africa, and you have to take malaria tablets. If you want to look at your map, you have to physically take it out. It was one of the earliest examples, I guess, or modern early example of having to bring out a map in the game to look at it. Your Jeep could break down at any time. The AK-47 that you're firing could jam at any time.
Yeah.
There would be wildfires going through the bushveld.
With that really cutting edge fire tech.
It was a wild game.
You
It
you
was
were
super
you were
wild.
chasing some bad guy called like the Jackal or something like that, and you never really saw his
Yeah.
like some weird assassin who never
Oh
was.
yeah.
Yeah, it
And
was
there was
something
like
like that.
there was kind of like a companion sort of system, wasn't there? Where like you would pick this character. There were a bunch of like pre-made characters, and they would like come and help you and like revive you sometimes if you got down in
Yeah.
battle. It was really interesting.
So
It's the reason whenever we talk about, I forget the guy's name, but the guy who ended up helming Far Cry, no, excuse me, Watch Dogs Legion, and is now helming up Assassin's Creed Hex or Hexe.
Yeah.
He's like I forget his name, Clint Hawking. That's it. He's like the guy who a lot of people say is like a kind of within the Ubisoft framework is a sort of a slightly more avant-garde game designer. And he was Far Cry 2.
So it was Far Cry 1 that I played.
Pushing the limits.
I didn't play Far Cry 2. Far Cry 1 blew me away. Like, I thought it was beautiful. And I remember it was like the best game I'd ever played, best looking game I'd ever played. And then they did the stupid bait and switch where they suddenly introduced like
At the end,
the freaking aliens or whatever the hell they're supposed to be. And it annoyed me more than most things in gaming ever have. And I didn't finish it because of that.
fair.
Yeah.
So I was so annoyed at how stupid it was. But I think you make good points about Far Cry 2, and I think just because some of the systems they introduced weren't well received, I don't think that necessarily.
Yeah. Don't
not
get me
put in.
wrong. Like,
However, I still think Far Cry 3 is the
yeah. Far Cry 3 is the one to add to the list of them for sure.
Yeah. I will say, for a while, Assassin's Creed 2 was one of my favorite games of all time. Like,
Solid game. Super solid.
I love Assassin. So I can't remember if I told this story before, but Assassin's Creed 2 coincided with the event that led me getting that scar in my head. So it was my I'm at home for a week game.
okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, loved it.
I mean, Assassin's Creed, the first Assassin's Creed game, I think at the time I played that, it was like it was like a realization to me. It's similar to like GTA 3 when I was just like, holy hell, how is this possible? Like, how was what this game's doing possible? How am I actually in Jerusalem in like this period, walking through crowds? It like blew my friggin' mind. And then when I played Assassin's Creed 2, it was like the same feeling all over again, where it just took it was to the nth power of like Assassin's Creed, and it was insane, and it was. Yeah, I've never played I've enjoyed lots of Assassin's Creed games. None of them have ever reached the heights of Assassin's Creed 2 for me.
Yeah.
Me too.
That's fair.
And I think
of those two, which are we going to include? I'm going to make you choose just one. Choose your favorite child.
Around your babies.
If I have to choose one of those two, it's got to be Assassin's Creed 2.
Kill the children.
I thought you were going to say the other one. Okay.
Like,
yeah, I also thought. I feel like Far Cry 3 to me feels like the more Jonesy game.
It is a more me game, but I think if I actually try to boil down the things that I make Far Cry 3 more memorable to me, it's not necessarily the game element. It's like the voice acting, the characters, the narrative. But actually, if you take a lot of that, the cutscenes out, for example, in that game, it's just not. It just doesn't stand up against Assassin's Creed 2. Like insofar as like that, what you're doing and how the game functions and works, and like but I love Far Cry 3, but I think I'd have to go Assassin's Creed 2.
Put it on the list.
It's there.
Okay, I think we've got to start wrapping up, fellas. But there's one glaring omission that I'm looking at Jamie.
There are loads.
Oh,
there's so many loads.
I know Jamie wants to talk about Kingdom Hearts 3, but there is one that I know you're gonna. I'm surprised you haven't brought it up yet.
Is it Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare?
Yes, it is Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
I was thinking COD had to be in there somewhere.
It's the best multiplayer shooter of all time, and and people are going to look at me like I'm crazy because like I know that the significance and the lasting impact of like the Counter Strikes or the Unreal Tournaments or the Quakes of the world, but like for me, like in terms of like modern PvP FPS gaming. And again, this is biased. I'm someone who still plays Call of Duty multiplayer every year and hasn't been swayed by we talked about Overwatch. You know, you can go out and there are plenty of BRs to choose from, or there are like CS knockoffs like Valorant. Like there are so many different directions you can go for FPS games. I wouldn't mind if anyone thought that I was crazy for sticking to my guns. No pun intended, as closely as I have. But there's a reason COD ruled the roost for a little while there. and COD 4 was the game that kind of created the template for fundamentally, I guess, the games that got me into PvP first person shooters. I love COD 4. And also, I keep. I think I made this point when we were doing some that best game ever episode. But like, I keep showering Call of Duty 4 with praise and forgetting to also mention it's also one of my favorite FPS campaigns ever.
Yeah,
Is it?
It's definitely up there.
So yeah, like I absolutely adore it, and I think it did. Again, a bit Far Cry 3-esque in the sense that, like, whether you think it changed shooters for the better or for the worse, like from that point onwards, that's that's beauty's in the eye of the beholder there, I guess. But as someone who liked that formula, as someone who loves like a new medal being awarded to me every time I shoot someone, and plus 50, and there's like a guitar riff going dun 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 every time I get a headshot, like. As someone who needs that kind of like brain rot-esque kind of like, I need my senses to be buzzed like every 3 seconds. I'm grateful for what Modern Warfare did for the shooters that followed.
Yeah, it's got to be on the list, right?
I wouldn't even try and sway you. I think it's.
I mean, I wouldn't mind if someone like wasn't feeling it.
Although you have reminded me of one thing, because on that best game ever, I had a suggestion that I think is better.
What were you? Were you GoldenEye?
No.
Was Jonesy? Maybe Jonesy was GoldenEye.
Jonesy is with me on this one, I reckon.
No, Jonesy was Bad Company 2.
No, but I think he like my.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember what you're. It was so
remember
good.
2 of the 3.
What was it?
Oh, come on, guys. Titanfall 2.
OTF2.
ET. Protect the pilot.
Protect the pilot.
On, dude.
It's a phenomenal video game.
I don't.
Favorite shooter of all time.
I'm with you then. I think it's different though. I think it's different enough. I know they're both.
It is different enough.
I think there's space for both. I'm adding that to the list as well.
Oh, it was so fucking sick.
I'm with you on that.
In the interest of kind of like maybe rattling some stuff off so it gets mentioned if not added, Chris, like we mentioned Dota 2 at some point, but then to kind of extend the Valve conversation, Half-Life 2, Portal 2.
Both worthy additions. I love both. I you know what? Maybe this is also a controversial hot take. I prefer Portal 2 to Half-Life 2. I
would shout for Half-Life 1 personally.
Half-Life 1 is also fair.
But again, I'm like, it's really tough. Like, you know, we're getting back to an era where.
Oh,
you've broken up a bit. Hello?
Cool. Yeah, I think we're back, maybe.
I don't think it's any of us. I think it's Discord because we all went to shit at the same time for everyone.
Oh yeah, no, you both.
Each of us stopped being able to see the other two at the same time. So I think it's Discord.
Okay,
horrible.
I think it's back now.
It seems.
I don't know if that came through, but I'm pretty sure that was Discord's fault because each of us lost the other two at the same time.
Yeah, very strange. Well, to be fair, it did go past midnight, so maybe it, just the UK servers resetting.
Half-Life,
Portal 2. Yeah, so on those, I just think the time at this point, which might be.
Oh no! Discord's shit in the bed again.
Oh, it's happening. No. Maybe they can hear us. In the interest of time, I was going to say this. Hopefully, you can hear me. Would you choose any of those over something that's already on the list?
Choose any of those over something that's already on the list.
That he's got it. Yeah. Would you or wouldn't you?
That's tricky though because some of them, like I think you guys have made really good shouts for that. I might personally swap like Portal 2 in for or Half-Life 1, but I think that would be unfair. Like for my own, the ones I've suggested, no. I love Portal 2 over Portal 1, but loved both of them. Half-Life 1 over Half-Life 2, but again, phenomenal game. And actually, I think they both could I think they could both be on the list for me, those two. But this shortlist is becoming a long list.
Mm.
Okay.
Snivelbox says, "Is Chris meant to be sounding like GLaDOS?" No, that'd be a good bit, wouldn't it? But it's all falling apart.
God, here we go. This is it, fellas. Jamie's completely frozen for me. 100%.
He's moving for me now.
Still can't hear you guys.
Oh no, Jamie's back and now Jonesy's on.
I don't know if Game Mule has any enemies, but if he does, then they're flicking their lag switches right now.
What a fucking way to end.
Well, there you go. Okay? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. For blimey! What is going on?
He's back.
Oh, maybe Discord's fixed itself.
Hey, I'm looking at the little like signal thing, and it's 3. It's like all green.
Mine's gone all green again as well.
I think we're clear, in the clear.
I think so. Right. I'll read the list that we've got at the moment. Okay. So we've currently got Super Mario Galaxy 2, The Last of Us 1/2 because we didn't decide, RDR 2, God of War 2018, Disco Elysium, Need for Speed Underground 2, Elden Ring, Mass Effect 2, Final Fantasy 7, Breath of the Wild, Assassin's Creed 2, Modern Warfare, and Titanfall 2.
Fucking hell. That list's just given me a fucking erection right there.
Half-Life 1 and 2 and Portal 2 both deserve to be on that list more than Need for Speed Underground 2.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's fair.
So am I taking Need for Speed Underground 2 off and putting them on?
I think, fellas, from this, just again, in the interest of time, how long have we been streaming for?
A long time.
A while. 2.5.
Yeah, nearly 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah. As much as I'd like to do the 3.5 hour marathons that we used to, I mean, fuck it, maybe we can. I kind of want to rush us along, but at the same time, I've got another entry.
Let's hear it. Why
That's
not?
not what I was expecting you to say then.
I'm
know.
not going anywhere.
It's fucking classic.
If you guys need to go to bed, then you need to go to bed. But I'm here.
I kind of do. I've got a big day tomorrow. But I would say a bit of a left field choice, but actually, if you've played it, it probably makes sense. If you played it to the degree, if you got into it to the degree that I got into it, Risk of Rain 2.
Didn't play it.
I have played it.
But you don't agree.
I don't, but that doesn't mean you're wrong.
That's fair. I just wanted to give it a shot because it's a fucking banger of a game.
I think I could totally see why you'd want to give it a shout. It didn't. I wanted it to click with me. I wanted it to be a Steam Deck game.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I don't hate it by any means. But it just didn't. It didn't land with me. And in the realm of I don't know if would you describe Risk of Rain 2 as a roguelike?
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. In the realm of roguelikes that are perfect for playing on the Steam Deck, it felt like it had some pretty tough competition and it didn't quite make the cut.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would just point out, as someone who's not a roguelike fan, no one has suggested any roguelikes up to this point.
No, because again, because I don't know, because there's something about even the best roguelikes of all time that I look at and I'm like, I don't know if they're the best roguelikes of all time, but I don't know if they're the best games of all time.
I agree.
I think Dead Cells and Hades.
Dead Cells, Hades, yeah.
I'd even say Returnal would have been amongst my best games of that year. But for some reason, when you're doing something as significant as going back through all of gaming history, I don't know. They just
to me, this is ludicrous. I've really enjoyed sitting here and talking about all these different games. I genuinely have. This has been really fun. But at the same time, what a ridiculous thing we attempted in a couple of hours was to go over. I feel like we're 1% of the way through the shortlist. And there's no I feel like we're barely scratched the surface.
Yeah, there's no fucking there's no Red Alert on here. There's no
exactly
fucking Age of Empires.
There's no Doom 2.
The ones that I've got written down, all the Metal Gear Solids, BioShock, Resident Evil 4, Minecraft, Gears of War 2, Halo 3, GoldenEye.
I quite like that we.
Batman Arkham.
Arkham.
Hitman 2.
Arkham Asylum for me would probably be on there. Yeah, Hitman. This is what is ridiculous. I actually think the way we started to do it, to where we were going through like company by company or like label by label.
Pro Skater 3.
Ooh.
Nah, 2.
Tekken 3.
See, it's almost impossible. There's so many good games, like so many incredible games that could absolutely be on the shortlist.
So should we just look at the shortlist that we have, take it from there, and if we wanted to do in the interest of time, is we just pick 2 each from that list?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Like, yeah, at some point you have to draw a line.
It's hard, man. Like, I'm not saying that because I know what I'm going to do.
Put it this way: we could make a top 6 games of this year, and we'd be disappointed at some of the games that didn't make the cut. We've got an impossible task on our hands.
Steph made a massive shout. Day of the Tentacle. Where's Day of the Tentacle?
No.
Where's Sam and Max?
No. Yeah, Sam and Max. Secret of Monkey Island.
Like, exactly. Okay, so what we said, we're going to pick 6.
Here's a hot take for you. Tim Schafer has never made a game that's been better than above average.
Wrong. You're just flat out wrong.
Outrageous.
There you go. I said it.
Sniffle Blocks has said a final stream next week. So unfortunately, one of the reasons we're doing the final stream today is because from next week it starts to get very, very busy around, like with Christmas and people being away and etc. etc. So that's why we've done it this point in December. Okay, so we're picking 2 each, or we're picking 6 from this list to be our list.
Yeah,
this is going to be rough, man.
Just very quickly. I'm also surprised, Jamie, that you didn't put Hotline Miami 2 or something.
Do you know what? I actually replayed them both last year, and I would put Hotline Miami 1 on the list if I was going to put either one. But I'm doing the thing that I always get angry at Jonesy for, which is there's something about like Hotline Miami 1 that like sits there alongside Hades and like there's something about like independently developed games of a certain size that when you compare them to some of like the behemoths of all time, they're just like, I don't know. It's my problem. It's a problem about how I'm perceiving them, because their quality is not worse than whatsoever. But there's something about like putting Hotline Miami next to like Final Fantasy VII or Ocarina of Time, where I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Like, actually, looking at our list, there's only one game here that could be kind of constituted as an indie. Disco Elysium.
Disco Elysium. Yeah. Well, then we have this. Like we have this argument all the time of how do you even characterize an indie anymore? It's so hard to like.
No, yeah. But like to Jamie's point of like, we tend to be going for the bigger, grander kind of things.
Yeah.
And he's right, but the only one there that isn't like that is Disco Elysium.
And Disco Elysium's independence ended up being the source of its its and everyone around its downfall afterwards.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna say that I think I've chosen my 2. Yeah.
I was gonna say I want to hear your guys's, but we're not gonna have any crossover. Like no one's gonna take anyone else's.
Yeah.
So we're all on our own, I think.
Yeah, I think
what a fun exercise, though.
I've got my 2.
Okay, I think I've got my 2 as well.
This is going to be a really weird 6.
Yeah, it is. I think it is going to be a weird 6.
It is going to be weird because it's not. I don't want to. I can't pick 2. That's the problem. It's ridiculous.
All I can say is there's one way in which this process could be worse, and it's if Steph were in this call with us, saying the things he's typing in chat out loud in this conversation, so we can at least pat ourselves on the back that amongst the Breath of the Wilds and Portal 2s and Half-Lives of the world, we're not having a conversation about whether Valheim is the best game of all time.
I can't believe that.
I love you, Steph. I do, but
have we not talked about Evolve? How's that not in this list yet? Anyway, right, okay. Let's so go on then. So
Left 4 Dead 2.
Chris, first up.
Oh yeah, I mean, do you know what? I mean,
okay, no. Okay, look, we got to call it. And I know some people are like, oh, come on, you got to include this, you got to include that. You are all absolutely correct. You have to include all of them. But it's a 6 list. We're running out of time because we were going to have to.
Can I guess your? Can I try and guess your guys?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I,
you can.
Yeah.
I reckon, Chris, you've gone for Super Mario Galaxy 2, and you would have been really torn. But
Torn between.
Final Fantasy 7 and Breath of the Wild, but you will have gone Breath of the Wild.
You
I
are
don't think he
completely-
has.
Yeah. What are you thinking?
I think you've gone Elden Ring and God of War.
Interesting. And so what should I do? Should I say them now?
Yeah,
then?
yeah.
Okay. The first one's going to shock you guys, I think. I think it's Titanfall 2.
I nearly said that, and then I didn't because I was like, I
Fair
don't
fucking
okay.
play. Fair
Yeah.
fucking play.
Okay.
It's Titanfall 2. Just in terms of like. Oh, although you God of War.
What's your second one? Come on. We got to get through this. What's your second
I'm
one?
going to stick to Titanfall 2, and the
Yeah,
second
simply
one.
guns.
And the second one's Elden Ring. Best game in the world.
Fair enough. Elden Ring. Okay, Jamie, I think will have gone for easy. One of them's easy. Red Dead Redemption 2.
I've gone predictable. Yeah, yeah.
RDR2 is good.
Yeah,
Definitely,
Red Dead
that was
Redemption
going to be one of
2.
them. And Modern Warfare 2 is going to be the other one.
Well,
I'm going to say.
You picked the wrong game. It's the Modern Warfare 2 is not even on the list.
Sorry, Modern Warfare. Modern Warfare.
Modern Warfare 4 doesn't exist.
Call of-
Captain Modern Warfare 2019 as Modern Warfare 4, which is not.
Sorry, just Modern Warfare.
Okay, Chris.
Okay, I'm gonna agree with Red Dead Redemption 2.
Mhm.
And I think you're gonna go Mass Effect 2. Although it might be Disco Elysium, but I'm gonna go Mass Effect 2. I think this is worse because we're kind of like swaying each other now.
God, I know. I just changed my mind and changed it back again. So I will say Red Dead Redemption 2 is the first one.
Fair, yeah.
The game that I changed my mind to briefly was Mass Effect 2, but I'm going to stick with my guns, and it was Disco. So it's RDR2.
Oh,
It is
okay, nice.
It is RDR2 and Disco.
I did not expect that.
I am
Like-
quite surprised about the Modern Warfare, but I think from my perspective on what we've been saying, it's almost like what I say about Dota 2. Like, I'll go back to it year on year. I'll keep on playing it. I'll enjoy it. I'll have fun. I might think it's a top tier game, but I don't think it's like on the list.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe where you're coming from at the same kind of way.
I think I realized that as I was making the, not argument for it, but as we were talking about it, like, I don't know, sometimes verbalizing how you feel about these games or their significance to you makes you realize that, like, something can be an incredibly good game, but it doesn't necessarily mean as much to you as something else might. And something that can tick both boxes. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Those are solid. Those are solid.
I mean, RDR2 and Disco Elysium are both games that I've replayed in their entirety inside the last 6 months.
There you go.
Nice. All right, Jonesy, I'm going to say with you, Last of Us Part 2.
Yep.
And
Damn, Josie's tough.
I think you're going to say Assassin's Creed 2. I think that's the two you're going to say.
What do you reckon, Jamie?
I think Jonesy might pull a bit of a weird left turn on us and go for something. I think Jonesy might go Last of Us 2 and Half-Life 1.
You are... Chris, I can say, was 100% correct.
Damn, okay.
Last of Us 2 Assassin's Creed. Do you know what? I was tempted with Half-Life 1. Just because that's one of those games that has a kind of special place in my heart. I literally replayed the start of that game so many times. Like, just because I was one of those where I was just like, wow. You know, but if I'm I think for me it's got to be Last of Us Part 2 and Assassin's Creed 2. I think those are two.
Okay, so
There you go.
so what's the list then?
The final list, I've posted it in the chat, is The Last of Us Part 2 /1 kind of, Assassin's Creed 2, Disco Elysium, Red Dead Redemption 2, Elden Ring, and Titanfall 2.
Nice. I
That
kind of
is
feel like
very
Titanfall
solid.
2 is the weakest link in that, but I'm still sticking with to my guns.
I know, but I think yeah, I think it's fair for a lot of reasons as well.
Yep, I think you're totally right. Stick to your guns, and that is when I look at that list of 6 games, I'm like, those are all fantastic games, and I don't know if they're 6 games that scream us, but but at the same time they are, and I think it's lovely that 10 years and what should we say 4 months after
Sure.
we first got together and recorded our first ever 6 list, that we get to go out with one last one.
Although never say never, I am tempted to see a much more us 6 list of games that a left field version of this with 6 games that we would pick. But hey,
I mean,
there we go.
Robin did at one point say pick the best game per generation, and I have always said to myself that if I was put on the spot and forced to do an exercise like this, that is the way that I would approach it. There's something about that I feel like it's easier to compare. Like when you're talking about significance and legacy and some of the things that we were chatting about, it becomes easier when you pull those titles together.
Yeah,
that is for sure.
There's also this kind of like, I can imagine there's a sliding doors effect here, where I didn't say Elden Ring and Titanfall 2, and I said God of War and Breath of the Wild. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I changed my mind twice while you guys were choosing the things that were supposed to be in my head.
I think I was going to get to. There was a couple. Well, there wasn't many questions, but we've been going so long, and my it started to struggle. I've been getting some like technical stuff going on the YouTube side for a little while, and I think we're just about still carrying on. But I think that's.
I hope so.
I will finish with. I hope this is still going out. A final.
It looks like it.
Oh, okay, a final super chat
Is still
from.
going. I don't know if you can read it.
I can't. It's all frozen for me, so I
Okay,
can't.
I've got chat up.
I did see a final super chat from Magni for saying just waiting for a smash cut from Jonesy's strike again and end the stream, and then I thought it had crashed, so I was like, that's so apt. But but apparently it's still going. I've just got a spinning wheel of death on my
Oh, you do.
thing, and I've got my chat's frozen, so I can't see that.
We're still
Nice.
We're still streaming, and people are sending their regards and saying thank you. Kasim has work in 5 hours, but can't bring themselves to walk away from the video, and Maggie doesn't want it to end ever. Oh, and another super chat from Rodrigo, $5. It's been a pleasure, gents. I hope we get to see you in the future.
Thank you, man.
Maybe
nice.
that's worth a quick kind of mention about what we can do. Maybe.
So okay. Quick off the dome. Nothing's closing down outright. I will put the link to the Discord and the link to the archive in the description of this video. The channel's not going anywhere. It's the podcast which is ending. So we might upload stuff.
The podcast will still be on podcasting platforms and YouTube. It'll still be there.
Yes, it's not going anywhere. It'll still be available. Yeah. We may choose to upload stuff. We may choose to have a break for a long time and then upload something. We may stream something every now and then. I have no idea, but we'll keep you posted if and when we do know / decide what the future of the Super Show looks like. But it's at least it's ours to control, and as long as we're controlling it, it's not going anywhere at the moment.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling oddly less emotional about this than obviously tying up ATG was quite a big emotional kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
But I felt more emotional stepping away from the Super Show than I am now. Maybe it's because I've been away from it for so long. I don't know how you guys feel.
Oh, this sucks in a lot of ways, but at the same time, it's like... Yeah. I even came to today was thinking like, oh, maybe we should just carry on. Maybe we should just do. And I'm like, but the reality is, it's got to a point where it's a lot to try and get this fit in and make it work and fit around everybody, and stuff. So I think it's the right time is what I'm trying to say. But that's also to say, I hope this isn't the last sort of content that I make with you guys, with Jamie, with like going forward and stuff. So. Hopefully we'll
I hope there's more stuff in the horizon, regardless of what it may be.
I agree. You just never know. Like none of us got into it because we were motivated by anything other than our desire to
Agreed. No,
work together,
No, as a joke.
make content together, and talk about games together. And at no point in the last 10 years has the motivation behind any of this changed. It's still been because we enjoy getting together and doing what we do, and we've just been lucky enough that there have been a fluctuating number of people who have been interested in hearing the end result of those conversations in various different formats over the years. And I think the thing that got us to start all of this 10 years ago, that's not going to go away. Like, we've gotten older, our lives have gotten busier and more complicated, that's for sure. But like, none of us have lost that drive to continue to share hot takes and trash opinions, and ideally do so together. And I just don't think that's ever going to go away, which is why it's impossible to say that we're going to go away forever. It's just like Jonesy said, this iteration of it, a weekly podcast. We've had a good run, but it is as low cost and as low commitment as it sounds to get a handful of guys together once a week to chat about something as sort of silly and inconsequential as video games. It does eventually kind of start to get a little bit difficult to pull all those strings and to have everything line up in the way you'd like it to, especially when you're running a Patreon and you feel like you owe people a certain, you have a responsibility to deliver a certain quality of content, a certain volume of content, and all the while you have all these machinations in the back of your mind about the way you want to grow it and the way you want to change it. And when you never have the time or the capacity to do any of those things, then that can be a drain as well. And so that's why I think closing this chapter makes a lot of sense for us. But leaving the book open makes just as much sense, if you excuse the slightly corny way of putting it.
That was very eloquently put. Couldn't have said it better myself.
No, absolutely. Massive thank you to Chris. Obviously, the third side of the triangle in the Super Show, coming back for the final, the ultimate, the episode.
Yeah, the ultimate. Should we say that like people could still contact us on social media? Like, I'm sure we'll respond when we can. The same with the Discord. Just I at least from my perspective, just make sure you at me if you want to speak to me.
Yeah,
because that summons me. But yeah, like it's been a wild ride. Like, even looking back from this and the ATG days, like just the community we built, I'm super fucking proud of it. I think it's maybe not sell myself short or anything, but I think it's maybe one of the, other than bringing life into this world, it's one of the grandest things that I think I've accomplished in my lifetime.
Yeah, it's been wicked. It's been fantastic, and it's just weird. We always said that this was like the after party of the of ATG.
Yeah,
and it's like, it sucks that this is kind of like
it's lasted almost as long, man. Like
that, which is crazy. Like, yeah, I've got no idea how that even happened, but we just kept turning up. Some people were asking about merch in the chat. If we do manage to, I'm going to be honest, we probably won't. But if we do put something together, then I will post about it on the X and on the Discord. There's still a lot of requests for JB body pillows. I don't know.
And on the Blue Sky, catch me on Blue Sky.
We don't have Blue Sky. We don't have Mastodon.
I'm on Blue Sky.
Jonesy bought a blue tick the second Elon would sell it. So
hell yeah!
Jonesy's it.
And do you know what I did? Do you know what I did the second we decided we were shutting this? I cancelled the blue tick.
Yeah. Well, we can't afford it anymore.
We don't have
a Patreon bankrolling us anymore, which I guess is also another nice segue to give obviously a huge shout out to everyone who's ever watched or listened, whether you're with us for this episode in the chat right now, or whether you're someone who's watching this video in 5 years' time saying, what the fuck ever happened to those guys? In which case, hello. I hope the future is better than the present. Just a big shout out to all of you, and then of course an extra special thank you to everyone who has helped us through the Patreon or through super chats, whatever it's been. There have been some ludicrously devoted people on the Patreon, and I know if you tune into the podcast every week and you hear kind of like the same spiel that we do about the Patreon every time, that it can maybe seem somewhat mechanical, but I can't tell you like how grateful I am that so many of you helped us in that way. Like, because without pulling back the curtain too much, we're not one of those podcasts that get to spend Patreon money on like funding cool trips or buying games to play for review. We're one of those lame podcasts where the Patreon money helps us because if we hadn't been able to cash it out that month, then we would have missed a bill payment or something like that, or I wouldn't have made rent that month. We're one of those podcasts, and that kind of makes those contributions even more valuable. Especially because I know what it's like we all know what it's like to be in a position where like you want to support someone. It's never comfortable. It's never an easy thing to spend. At the time when we're all like canceling Netflixes and Amazon Primes, finding the money for the SuperShow podcast, when your wife is looking at the shared bank account and saying, "What the fuck is this?" It's not a comfortable conversation. So just super grateful for everyone that's helped us along the way, however that's been at whatever point in the journey that was at. Because it really did make a big difference.
Yeah, I can only echo that, like massive, and I find it crazy, and I'm so grateful to people that have supported us in that way, and to everybody else. But yeah, as Jamie says, there have been times when I've been like, I would really love to play a certain game, for example, and I'm like, there's no way that I can justify like spending £70 in a game, and then I'm thinking like, hold on, I've got some Patreon money that's siloed off somewhere else, and I'm like, I can play that game that I've wanted to play for ages, and I can do it and the only reason I can do it is because of you guys. Apart from, like Jamie said, paying bills, paying for like paying for life in general. So
you two both know whenever I've sent a message saying how far are we from being able to cash out the Patreon.
Yeah, I've put a few of those messages in as well. Absolutely. Like definitely, especially during COVID, like not just financially from the Patreon, but also from a sanity standpoint, having this and connecting with both of you and obviously our audience, like that stuff stays with you, I think, or will stay with me for the rest of my life. So yeah, thank you. But fellas, at this point, it just feels like we are waiting to rip the Band-Aid off. So
yeah.
All right. I suppose I should smash cut. No, I'm only joking. No, thank you, everybody. Thank you, guys. I was going to say we'll see you next week. We won't. But there we go. Cheers.
Thank you.